Hey guys, Tarke here, and today we're joined by Octavian, Raiz, and Niggy to talk everything Blight. And we'll start off with Raiz. What have you been up to?
I've been mostly trying to race, dying a lot for Kondo's Pride. That's been pretty much it. Playing a lot of Summoner, checked out a bunch of other builds, tried out the old like BV thing with Decay. It's really strong, but I just can't play BV anymore, man. I don't know. Something broke in my mind. I just can't play it anymore. Tried out a Miner. It's pretty much a Trapper with an extra button.
Yeah.
It feels identical. Then yeah, I went back to Necro, and since yesterday I've been having like internet problems, so didn't get to play that much the last day.
Is there any like particular flavor of Necro that you're leaning more towards, or?
Oh, I couldn't decide on like what to pick because I knew what's gonna be strongest, but I couldn't decide on what I'm actually gonna race with. So I ended up going with this what I thought was the strongest, which is gonna be the Solar Guard stuff. Worked in zombies because zombies are
Really
crazy.
strong.
Yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much been it. I haven't really tried a lot of the other things. It's more or less the same of what it was if you played the Summoner before. Like the skill trees are pretty much identical. With like,
Yeah.
obviously a couple points moved. Maybe somebody's gonna travel to like the movement speed if you're playing a hybrid build like mine. Uh, yeah, it's more or less the same. I'm still waiting for somebody to come up with something like really, really cool big summoner. Because with summoners, especially with specters, the thing is that at a certain point, certain specters that previously didn't have enough firepower now work. So, for instance, people have been using Latiri bitches, which are pretty cool. The fire goatmen were pretty okay before apparently, but now they're like you can really boost them up. Obviously, the incursion mobs are a lot stronger. So still kind of waiting for that like ultimate setup, but yeah, Solar Guards still do the job for sure.
So I Uber Elder kill that looked pretty convincing using the crossbowman from Oriot Square.
Oh,
Hmm.
haven't even heard about that.
I have no idea what the monster's called, but yeah, somebody linked it to me yesterday in my Twitch chat. Watched it. It was a very clean Uber Elder kill. Build was a little squishier than some of the other summoners I've seen, though, so I don't know if there was just a lot more damage. But
What's their
Yeah,
main
you're gonna
ability?
see.
Is it just like autos and
they just kind of
nets?
shoot, yeah. But they did a lot of damage, so.
Yeah, well, it's stuff like that for sure. Some summoners might look a little squishy because people just build around armor so heavily. You kind of always build summoners around armor, but now some people do hybrid too. It kind of just depends what you want to go for.
Do you want to talk about
Armor's still pretty
your
good.
summoner, Octavian? Because you're doing like a pretty tanky setup, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been playing Guardian Summoner. Guardian, I have a soft spot for Guardian. It's the ascendancy that I've actually like won demis on and stuff in some 2-week races. So since they buffed life-based Guardian Summoner, which is a really fun playstyle, I decided I wanted to give it a go. I'm doing zombies and Holy Relic and Carrion Golem, and I'm scaling pure physical damage with Pride and Vulnerability and Brutality to scale all three of them. And what I'm doing is I'm using Cyclone as like a utility setup. So I'm using it with a Claw to gain life gain on hit, and I'm using it with Fortify and Victorios to generate frenzies, Guardian to generate endurance charges, and then Cast Wall Channeling with a couple spells, an Offering and a Curse. It's been going pretty well. I'm at level 97. I died once at level 83 to a game crash, but I made it back up.
Ooh. Brutal.
You're in hardcore, right?
Yeah, trade hardcore. I've not ever league started hardcore before, so I've been really cautious around anything that could be crashy or buggy. I haven't done any bladed maps yet because I don't want to just lose my character to a crash. I'm waiting for them to get patched somewhat.
So
The
none at
crashes
all?
have been weird, no? Like, am I the only one with crashes where it's like it doesn't instantly disconnect you, even if you have the stuff enabled in Windows? Like, usually for me, whenever the game crashed, I could just instantly close it, but now it just sits
Oh
there for
yeah,
like 10
no.
seconds.
I've
The
had
game
that
hangs.
for the last like 2 or 3 leagues. It doesn't matter if I'm
Oh.
TCPing, Alt F4ing, task managering. It's like the whole game just hangs. And it's been
Yeah.
really annoying because I've been thinking about like doing kind of what Octavian does, where he goes hardcore for the last month. And every time I think, I think I'm gonna do it, I then get like a couple of bad crashes like that, and I'm like, nah, okay, fuck this.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
This
know.
is so weird to me. This is the first league in I don't even remember. I haven't had any crashes. It's like unreal.
I'm gonna
don't
be
know. I
honest.
don't
They
know.
they haven't been that bad.
Mm.
Like I've only crashed maybe 3 or 4 times. It's just one of them happened to be at a really bad time, so I ended up dying. So I think honestly, like overall, this league start has been one of the more hardcore friendly ones in recent memory. Like Blight as a mechanic has a few things that are a little bit overtuned, but generally, I don't. There's nothing that's like on the level of Red Cloud of Death or Betrayal when it first launched or something like that. And as far as crashes go, there's some nasty ones, but they're generally avoidable. I can like skip doing blighted maps for now.
The fireball dudes are pretty rippy, especially
They're
on map
crazy.
mods. They
Yeah.
they ate Dan. They destroyed me in a map I did last night, but soft loss SSF, so it's okay. But that was instant kind of like, oh, and
Yeah.
I'm dead. Right, okay, good.
It's the closest I came to dying so far.
And what have you been playing, Nicky? What have you been up to?
I mean, I was in the race for quite a while. I was like hanging around rank 4. I gotta say, I got bored. I was straight up bored. I've never had that through a league before, like where I was actually racing and then like in the middle I was just like, I'm not enjoying this. It's just specters were too strong, and I don't know, like summoners, and I'm not a TD fan. So that's what it is.
Do you think it was just the league mechanic itself, or like a mixture of things?
It's like a mixture between. I mean, I think it's because they actually added some really good additions, like with the what's it called, the master stuff. I'm really enjoying being able to like do that, and but then with the master stuff, the delving being bugged as well, just kind of like threw me off. So I was like, I wasn't really enjoying the tower defense, and I don't know. I've never killed Shaper this easily ever before. It's like I walked in and he just fell over at like 96, and I didn't even have good gear. So that was it was really anticlimactic, like the steps I normally go through a league. So it's like, it's not really my cup of tea, this league.
It was a pretty big concern overall for me that, like, they definitely buffed. I thought their summoners are going to be crazy, but they're way beyond what I thought they're going to be, how crazy they're going to get. So it was like a real concern, because I know a lot of people that would just like play SRS in the past, and then they would just think the whole game is like this, right? Especially a lot of streamers. And yeah, I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot. I think a lot of people are going to kind of fall into that. I play a summoner, now everything feels just not like the other thing does, and they're just gonna get bored. It's gonna be a tricky league.
I think,
And
oh, go on.
it's one of the harder things to remove power from if they ever need to in the future, because a lot of the power that they gained comes from the better AI tools, and you can't just take that shit away.
I think though, there is one point where we have too much power now as summoners. Everything is too goddamn tanky. I think that is the main thing with summoners that got to me, is like, I never have to press Convocate to save my minions. I don't have to run a healing potion for my minions. I don't need to do anything to make my minions survive. I would just like purposely stand there and see how much shit can I put them in. I put my Starforge on my Animate Guardian, which is like a terrible idea, but he just never dies. It's just, I don't know. It's just things just never die.
Yeah, they didn't talk a lot about the changes that they made. I mean, a big part of it could also be that we're just killing everything so much faster, right? Like, I don't even know if they bumped up the HP on things. I mean, HP is definitely a lot more available now for minions, but
I mean,
it
there's
is a matter of just things dying.
there's more tools though as well, like Meat Shield. If you're throwing that in, it's
Yeah.
just straight up.
Yeah.
What is it, 30% or 25% less damage taken for the minion, provided it's near you?
That's really good. Yeah.
A big thing that you were worried about, Raiz, was Death Mark, Mark the Death, Deatheth of Marketh. Like,
Yeah, that's
well,
default.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I thought that's gonna be like, if you use that, then people can off-screen bosses, but that's just default on like all minions now. You just off-screen them. You just place like go to the edge of the screen, place a desecrate, and the mob just dies off-screen, and it's just like, whoa. I never thought that they're gonna do something like that. it's going pretty far, especially with the amount of single target you get with a summoner. Like it's really high for absolutely no investment.
It's crazy.
Would you say it seems like it's kind of weird timing for the summoner buffs around Blight? Since I had the issue, so I league started Icicle Mines, and I never once had to use towers until I got into maps, and I was complaining about this felt a bit boring. I then had to start using them later on for like blighted maps, so then I felt okay about it. But all the summoner players I've spoken to have been like, yeah, I just like press spell Skelly's AFK for a minute, and then that's the event done.
I really like the towers, so for me
No,
it was just
I
a matter of like clicking things no matter what, right?
Yeah.
But like even if you're racing to 100, doing Blight was very inefficient. Like even with Delve being broken and everything, it was just very inefficient. So the fact that I continued to do it, it just kind of proves how much I like it. So I'm gonna click it no matter what. You were saying something.
Oh yeah, basically I was saying, do you think that the timing, like if there was ever going to be a league to focus on summoners and make summoners really broken, is it kind of backwards to do it on the league where you kind of have to stand around for like a minute? Because like tower defense works really well. I really like it in blighted maps when you're feeling swarmed and you have to do stuff. But when you don't have to build the towers, you can just hold right click. Well, if you're a summoner, for a lot of cases, you're not even holding the right click depending on the build. It's kind of like, okay, I've thrown out a GMP or Desecrate, Flash Dropping, whatever it is, and then...
I think they wanted to synergize it, but like, because it just naturally has that standstill and just let things come to you. But they just overshot it. I think just way overshot it. So I don't know. It's tricky because like Octavian said, this will be hard to make it go away, man. It will be really, really hard, especially because with summoners, you've got so much available scaling that people aren't using right now, like auras, and even like Octavian mentioned with Guardian. You can just do so many crazy things. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I kind of expect them to keep like nerfing summons over the course of like the next 3-4 leagues, and every league it's still gonna be the top thing to do until eventually,
I remember having a similar conversation to this around traps back when they removed a lot of the clunk from traps. They got rid of like the cooldowns and they made throwing speed a lot easier and all that sort of thing. And that if you look at since Incursion, traps have been adjusted and tweaked, and a lot of their tools to make them crazy have been removed. They're still strong, but maybe in a few leagues we'll see Summoner in a similar situation.
I don't really know how you can do that though, because the way that Summoner was always balanced before was, this is a broken build, but it's frustrating to play, so only a certain kind of player plays it. And then over the years, they've removed those frustrations, and now it's like, you can control the AI, you can do what you want with it, and now it's like, how do they really rebalance that without just like killing the minions?
Just let them die. I mean, I really feel like with the more control, the more you just need to like make them take damage. They added like, when did they add the whole reduction to AoE effects? Because I think that's really what makes them like over the top. Like now with all the changes on top of it.
Oh, a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think this was around when the new acts came out. Either right before or right after. Yeah, but no, I agree, because like if they change the AI, then they remove the active playstyle from summoners. If they just make them weaker, then that's not gonna accomplish a whole lot. People just take a little bit less HP, and just boost them up elsewhere. Yeah, I think forcing people to use their mana, first of all, in general, and making them die. Yeah, I like that idea.
I think what needs
Although
to
it will be
change.
frustrating.
I think what needs to change for that to be a worthwhile sweeping fix, though, is some rebalancing maybe to some of the immortal minions, like Herald of Agony or Arcali's Fang. Like if that's going to be a significant balancing tool in GGG's arsenal, they need to really consider how much power needs to be taken away from a minion if you're going to make it immortal.
Yeah, but did those minions really have like? They weren't really as clumsy as the other minions. That's why kind of SRS did well, because they already had the built-in AI of being aggressive and whatnot, like Arakalis and Agony. they already kind of worked like that, so I don't know if they would look at this specifically. Like in general, those builds didn't receive much of a boost, I don't think.
Agony got some pretty
Mm.
significant buffs, I'd argue. There were changes to some support gems that it likes to use that buffed it overall, and then just like there being minion buffs and Agony not receiving a nerf is a huge buff to Agony because it was already one of the more powerful minion builds around.
Yeah, it's just I'm thinking because you already didn't pick up the minion nodes, right? And like even the new minion nodes available now, it's like
Can I just say
10%
that
damage
is still
duration.
so like insane
No?
to me that it's like, oh, I'm playing a Herald of Agony build. What do I take? Whatever the fuck I want, because I don't need to take anything.
It's God. Like I've had this argument with people in my chat before, and I can understand the desire to min-max. Obviously, that's what Path of Exile is built on. But Herald of Agony always like just completely washes away that desire in me because it just feels like none of the decisions I make really matter in the long run. Because I could make every single decision incorrectly, but so long as I'm still getting virulence and my minion has accuracy, I'm gonna do like 500,000 or more DPS, like guaranteed. It's got links. I've got virulence. It's got accuracy. Doesn't matter what other decisions I made. Like trying to figure out which way I can squeeze the most damage out of my Herald of Agony is like trying to figure out which river I want to fill a tiny little cup with. They're all going to do it very well. It doesn't matter. Just pick one.
Yeah. It's a tricky issue, because like in the past, if they would have buffed up any build, I would usually be in the camp of just let people have their fun for like a league or two. But here I feel like this will have long-term ramifications for the overall game and how people approach it in terms of playstyle and whatnot. I especially know with a lot of streamers that started playing Path of Exile in the like SRS times when SRS was somewhat strong. Like they didn't come back,
Far off in the SRS times.
Yeah. It's very unique in that way because the game plays for you. It's like watching a movie more than anything. And before with other minions, you had to deal with positioning and whatnot, and you had some cooldowns to take care of. Now it's just available. I don't know. I hope people have their fun. I just hope that it won't like push them away from the game long term.
Yeah, that's fair enough. We can touch more on like the necro stuff later, but so Raiz is enjoying Blight. I'm enjoying Blight. Noogie, you said that tower defense just wasn't really doing it for you. Was there anything like in particular about it that just wasn't clicking, or?
I think it's more like the structure, like the reward structure and everything. I think clicking the towers is just tedious, honestly. Like for me, I think if people like it, I mean, let them have their fun. I'm not gonna say don't like it because it's like I can see it. I don't know. It's just there's like this slight delay all the time. I'm not really engaging with it. Then I did the Blight map and everything just crawled to a halt whenever there's a bubble boy in there. I don't know. It's kind of my worry from before the league. My only concern was this is going to be a really boring tower defense. That's all I see it as. It's just a boring tower defense. Like compared to like whatever else I would play before as a tower defense. And I'm not really getting my ARPG in there, I feel.
It doesn't feel like a tower defense though, right?
It feels more like a horde mode to me.
Yeah.
I think it's because of just the continuous nature, partially at least, because of the continuous nature of enemies coming at you. It's not waves, and you're not strategically building up towers between them. It's just fight things, and you get a phase beforehand to build some.
Yeah. I think
specific thing that you were saying about like having to wait and it's fiddly and all that. I really wish they had made it so when you're selecting a tower, instead of clicking once and then clicking the tower you want, you just click and drag in the direction on like a radial menu of which one you want. One motion instead of two would be really nice for selecting new towers.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
It's also been mentioned a lot, but also just like speeding up the animation. There's something really frustrating about I have like 1,000 resource. I go to click a tower. I wait for like 3 seconds for it to go, and now I press upgrade, and then I can do my thing.
Yes.
There is that slight bit of delay in there. And
I like that. Actually, that's one of the things that I like because it gives me that like because like it's waves, right, and
Right.
towers, and I really miss that. So this is the one thing where I feel like I have to make a decision beforehand. Sure, it's still in combat, but it's something that you have to do, right? Where I would, if I were to do a blight map, I would like place a lot of one towers because I know when everything starts going and everything starts lagging, I won't really have an opportunity to do that. So then upgrading is like the easiest thing rather than selecting and whatnot. So that's like
I agree
the
with
one
that.
unintentionally annoying thing that I like.
I agree with that. It feels good in the blighted maps, but it also feels really rough in the blighted maps because I don't know how many blighted maps you've run. So let's say you have the pump in the middle, then it splits in 4 directions. I don't know why, but the amount of towers you start with seems completely random. Sometimes you can have an entire lane with no towers there. And you're like, I want to build base towers there, but I can't. The last one I ran, the bottom lane had 2 portals, not a single tower there. And then it felt like 60% of my towers were all on one side. So I built rank 1 towers wherever I could. I couldn't build any towers in that bottom bit. And then you have to wait for more portals to spawn, then more towers like pop in. And when you have stuff like that, then it's really frustrating because you're like, I'm going to build a tower in that spot as soon as I can, but I can't until I'm already being hoarded. And then depending on the kind of build you're playing, that can be really frustrating. So I respect from mines to traps so that it would feel a lot smoother because then I could like throw my flamethrower traps in one direction and that buys me the time I can then run around and build things. Where I was really frustrating where I'm having to like throw mines, detonate mines, throw mines, detonate mines, and also manage building towers at the same time. It just felt like a bit too like hectic in that sense. But not hectic in like a I'm being overwhelmed way, but hectic in a too many buttons, kind of what Octavian was saying. Not a case of I don't want to like click on things, but it's a case of it's like having 20 buttons, but someone's tied my hands together. Like I know what I want to do, but I feel like the game is stopping me from doing what I want to do.
How do you guys feel about just like getting rid of one of the steps of upgrading and making them more expensive per step? Because I think like the goal in endgame ones is to get a turret up to its maximum stage, and it gets there really quickly. Like if we're talking a red map or something, you'll get the resources from like 20 seconds, 10 seconds of doing the event. So it doesn't sit on the tier 3 one for very long. Maybe it would mess with the progression in the story where you're learning the mechanic, so you don't get to like actually upgrade your turrets for a while because they cost too much early on. But honestly, I think like that extra step in the middle doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like go from tier 1 into the higher tier version of it into the final version of it, and then you have less overall clicking. And I personally, it wouldn't really be missed. Like I'm not gonna sit here and cry about the lack of a tier 3 turret before the final upgrade.
Yeah, they could do that. Also, they could fix that quite easily by just increasing costs when you kill Katava.
Yeah.
Yeah, in general for me, because I like it, I thought the events were too short and I would like to see more towers. But yeah, the idea to like reduce or increase the cost, I think that in my case at least would need to be paired up with already like a longer encounter in red maps.
Well, yeah,
I just feel like there's not enough happening most of the time.
Same amount of cost, or if it needs to be tuned down, perhaps even less to reach the final stage of the turret, but fewer stages up to it. So
okay.
you pay more per upgrade, but same amount overall to reach the top upgrade. Just minimize on clicks.
Okay.
Like I don't think there needs to be 3 stages, 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th before you get your turret as built as you want. Like I think it would be fine if there were just 2. I don't think it would detract from the mechanic at all, and it would minimize clicking during the event.
It's also someone
want to avoid that.
Says very appropriately in chat. It's not exciting going from a rank 2 to a rank 3. It's like you have base tower, like you shoot 1 fireball, then rank. If we ignore rank 2, go straight to rank 3. It's now you shoot multiple fireballs, and then you shoot either flamethrower or meteor. You don't need to be like, oh, it's gained another proj, or like your chilling tower chills a bit more. It's just like chilling tower, slightly better chilling tower, and then shoots a ice spear or like ice wall. I agree with you there, Octavian. I think so. I think me and Raiz are probably in pretty similar like boats. I really enjoy the blighted map gameplay. most of the blighted encounters in maps, I would say like 70% of them are just like complete face roll, and then occasionally you get the fun ones, but that's mostly because of like portal RNG. And if the events in general were longer or had more waves or had more this, and yeah, I felt like it was worth me building everything and engaging with it all, great. Because one thing which often happens is it's a case of you'll be like, okay, so you'll run like a tier 13, 14, whatever, and you're like, okay, I really want to go in, and like as soon as you start getting like 2 towers to rank 4, the event's over, and you're like, all right, cool.
Pretty much, yeah.
That was fun. Because you don't even get that big payoff of, oh, I've got this now meaty tower. You either have the case of you only build like 2 towers and you build those to rank 4, then you get to enjoy them a bit. But if you actually are building a lot of towers, you don't get that payoff moment of, now I get to enjoy my meteor tower eating enemies for like a minute. It's like you build it and the event's over. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like blighted maps for that. I think they did except the fucking lag. They did a really great job with blighted maps. I do feel like that's where the fun comes in. But yeah, the lag really kills it for me. But every single blighted map that I've done, it's always been exciting. Sometimes for the wrong reasons, like a portal suddenly spawning on top of my freaking pump, and I'm just like losing it over there. But yeah, I haven't had a blighted map that wasn't super fun. And they get pretty sketchy too, especially if it's like an indoor one and there's shit AoEing you down, especially with a summoner, you know.
How
Pretty
many
nasty.
blighted maps have you and Nuggy had drop?
I think 12 or 15, maybe a little bit more.
What
No, I
level
think
did
there's
you
one
stop
there.
playing at?
96, 7-ish.
I'd say I'm about in the same camp. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I've
not
dropped
that many.
From
what level
I
did
had
you
a
get up to?
97.
I have like 3 15s.
I dropped 2 red maps and I got to 97. Pretty brutal. But then again, I only dropped 1 Exalted Orb this entire league and 1 Divine. So it's like, I don't know. It's been a weird league for me.
So up until yesterday, I had gotten 14 total to level 97 as well. And then
Damn.
in the space of my stream yesterday, in my dump tab, I was sorting it before the podcast started, I found like another 7. And Grimro was mentioning that he was getting a lot more oils and a lot more blighted maps as well recently, like since the last patch. So I don't know. It might have been stealth buffed on their side.
Maybe.
I was talking to Grimmer about that in the last like 24 hours. I was noticing, because I'd done up to tier 15 maps, and then I'd sort of left my Atlas, and then I'd saved up a bunch of Guardians or whatever. So then I did my Guardians, I did a Shaper, I filled in my missing like 14s. And then I got a message from Grin saying, I think they've buffed oils just as I was about to start running my reds. The first map I ran dropped 8 oils, and I'm like, okay, the FBI are watching our conversation. Next map did 6 oils. And apparently a bunch of people whispering him at the same time, feeling like a bunch more of dropping. But the problem with that is it might have been stealth buff because they do tweak numbers all the time. But once someone tells you something, you've then got that in your head.
Yes.
So then it's like
it's hard to know.
it's like when you have that one bad RNG on like farming humilities, you're like, oh, they've definitely nerfed humilities this league. And then your mate's like, yeah, it took me ages as well. It's like, definitely nerfed humilities this league.
Yeah. True.
Have any of you found a golden yet?
No.
No.
The highest tier I've had drop is a black oil.
I've dropped a few opalescents.
Oh, I have a silver. Isn't that higher?
Yeah,
Silver
silver's
is the
TNT.
second highest.
Right. Okay.
Haven't had a
It's-
silver.
It's black, opalescent, silver, gold, right?
That
I think it's
sounds right.
opalescent, black, silver.
Yeah.
No, opalescent's above black.
Yeah,
Because
it's
black
like-
yeah.
is for like 10 or 15, and opalescent is
Oh.
like 40.
Yeah.
Okay.
Highest I had was opalescent, and both of them pretty much dropped like back to back, and then I died.
Right. Oh.
Haven't had a silver or a gold yet. No.
Did you get to anoint Ravenous Sword?
No, I anointed Hexmaster.
Oh, right. That's a good one. Nice.
Pretty expensive. It was
yeah.
like opalescent and 2 blacks. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Man? I'm 97. I don't have any of these. Like, I literally did
Mm.
not have a single one. I found all of them at 97. I was just like,
And then,
A really good cheap option that I've been using is not Soul of Steel, Silent Steps.
that's a really
class
good
one.
That's a really
That's a
cheap
cheap
option.
option.
Yeah,
Only
that
3
was
of the
really
most
good.
expensive. No, Silent Steps.
yeah,
Because I've been doing Flesh and Stone, and I'm in melee range all the time, so it's basically always up.
it's really good. I like that.
It's a good one for sure.
It does feel a little bit iffy, the whole... I like the anointment stuff on paper, but it does feel a bit kind of... We've made 40% of the obvious nodes like triple gold or like double gold, and you're like, okay, that's fine. Even like, so for example, when I was playing my minor character for Spectre Traps, I was like, oh, the one slightly awkward cluster near the ES wheel, I'll anoint that, save like 8 points, this is going to be amazing. But even that was like silvers and stuff, and you're like,
I think that's fine. I think there's so many other good options if you just look around that you can go for as a stepping
I ended
stone.
up going for good options. It's just I don't know how I feel about something with that much rarity, with that much cost, when it's not even like when it's niche to a specific build. Like, it's not the most powerful node on the tree. It's not like a Soul of Steel, right? It's like a pretty good node for that one specific build. Is going to be like 2 exalts or some shit. And that's a case of, if you're going to spend that much, you're not going to want to do it until you have a particularly good amulet. So it just feels a bit... Like, again, I'm playing an SSF, it's all a bit whatever, but it's like, in my stash, I've got like 3 exalts, I've got like a handful of divines, and then I've got like 1 black oil, and I've just been stuck with the same like okay-ish ammy with a decent trap mod on it. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to upgrade that for another like 20 levels or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sort of in Nugi's camp here. I agree with you that it feels a bit bad the first time around, but like, anointing as a system is the new crafting system that's been introduced with this, and obviously it's not meant to be as robust a crafting system as something like Delve's fossils were. You know, it's not got that many options. You do like a handful of things at best. But it still does have to have some amount of chase and longevity, or else it's just going to feel like an afterthought. And it's really hard to do that while at the same time not accidentally treading in some way on the ability to get a lot of those middling nodes. So I wish there was a better solution, but I think the way that it's set up now is probably the best we can ask for. Like, maybe with some specific rebalancing to certain nodes, but yeah, having like 10% life nodes be moderately expensive, for instance, just, yeah, that makes sense to me.
No, I agree with that. I think it's just... I'm pretty okay with it on amulets. It's more the ring anointment that piss me off, I think. The ring anoints I find really frustrating.
Yeah, they're... Like... Why would you ever use gold oils on your rings? There's anoints you can get for that. There's some interesting ones. I think there's like there's one that's an animation speed reduction on enemies that you can get with anointment oils for the stone towers, that kind of thing. But like, even the ones that were super expensive looked at best neat, and most of the time still not super relevant. I don't think that's going to be a very effective sync. To be honest, until level 95, I hadn't even anointed a ring.
I mean, I've been anointed my rings. That's not the issue. That's not so much the issue I have. The issue I have with it is there are some really powerful ones that you'd want to go for, but because of the way that resistances work, if it's meant to be this chase thing as you were talking about, where you're saving up your gold oils or your whatever, and you're spending all of these exalts into like min-maxing your rings, and then you have a resist tower, and it's like, yo, by the way, all that like stuff you saved up, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Some of the towers, like Flamethrower Tower, one of the final anoints is like ignores resists. So I guess that's kind of feels okay that you can always build the Flamethrower Tower. But I think the resist system goes completely against it. And I think I'm extra annoyed by it, or extra disappointed by it, by the fact that we specifically mentioned that on Baeclast, Neon and Jonathan were like, yeah, it's a bit shit, we'll have to work around it. And then they just didn't do anything, and it's just kind of like, oh, okay.
Just
isn't there a the what's it called, the buffing tower?
Yeah.
isn't that like a double gold one in the end that just doubles your damage or something?
It
I
gives
thought it was
increased
increased effect of the
damage.
buff that
Or
it
increase?
gives,
Oh, right.
which is an attack and cast and move speed buff, if I recall. I'd have to look it up again. Just because I get the comment in my chat a lot as well, just in case anyone in chat isn't aware or anyone watching on the VOD isn't aware or on YouTube, the icons down below when the event is starting are resistances.
Yeah.
That is what the thing is resistant to. That's what you don't want to build. Also, there's a little like silvery medallion looking thing that'll pop up sometimes above a portal, and that means a boss is coming out of that portal. And when that medallion turns from silver to gold, that means the boss has spawned and is active.
Just to read you like some of the top upgrades for the buffing tower, just because you specifically mentioned it. So for empowering tower, there's your empowering towers have 25% increased effect, 25% increased range. Your empowering towers also give 20% cast speed, also grant 25% increased damage. All towers in your empowering range towers have 50% chance to deal double damage. That's pretty good. And then for imbuing, you've got increased effect, increased ranged, gives 50% crit chance, 50% damage. So there are some good ones in there, like Meteor +1, that's pretty good. Well, no, that's very good, because then Meteor with 2 is like firing 3, so that's like, doubling the effectiveness. There's one where like your Fireball Tower fires 8 additional and fires them in a Nova. That's obviously pretty sick. But that is really expensive. So it's kind of like you build that and then you get a bunch of fire resistant mobs, and it's like, well, that really expensive tower does no damage. So
I think I'd also be more excited about them if I were doing blighted maps. Because I have opted out of those because of how laggy and crashing they are, so that probably skews my viewpoint. Because blighted maps also, like, the resistance problem isn't as big a deal, I'd imagine, because they have they have so many portals. There'll be a handful of ones that are resistant to what you pick, but most of them won't be. So that might be more where they're meant to be relevant, because while just mapping, it doesn't seem to matter what you build, unless your build is struggling.
No, I agree with that.
I mean, either way, the buffing one seems best in terms of actually putting on your rings from the sounds of it. I was checking out prices for the golden oils on hardcore Blight. They're 4x, which is a lot, but on regular Blight they're just 1 exalted orb, which is pretty reasonable. I think the price is going to plummet pretty fast too.
Well, I mean, there's always going to be a massive
once
difference
you have it
between hardcore and softcore, because it's like once you have the craft in softcore, you don't need it until you get an upgrade. Whereas it's always going to be really expensive because someone like Dan will buy it all, then he'll rip, and then he's like, well, I need to buy that shit all again. So,
on softcore, and also to some degree in hardcore, but less so because of death, the system itself inherently just isn't one with much of a sink. I think blighted maps were meant to be the sink because you can anoint them, but I don't think you're gonna anoint a blighted map with golden oils with the current level of rewards that blighted maps give. I don't even know what
the gold.
There's some big ones. I've seen blighted maps with like
I've got the list
75
up
pack
next to
sizes.
me.
Right.
Golden oil, 25% chance of blight chest to drop an additional reward, 5% pack size. So pretty shit.
Yeah.
So
when the golden oil is the best one to get from there.
If you use 3 of those, you would have 75% chance to drop an additional reward and 15% pack size.
Right.
Silver is 5 blight chests are lucky, 5% pack size. Opalescent is 25% pack size. Black is 10% for blight chests to drop an additional reward. So basically a lower version of the gold, 5% pack chance. Grimro teamed up with Cute Dog and like bought a bunch of oils and tested it, and they said they couldn't tell what chests were lucky.
Right.
And that's a bit of a feels bad, man. If you're gonna like invest a bunch of currency to be like, oh, and then you're like, I don't know which one it procced on. So
I mean, if it hits like the armor one, you're like, wait, my loot filter didn't show anything.
Yeah.
Opalescent for 25 pack size is the only one that seemed okay on my list.
That's not bad.
I mean, the main thing is like clear oil is decent in hardcore because it's 10% reduced monster speed and 5% pack size. So that's just very cheap.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Just throw.
Isn't that that's the cheapest one, right?
Yeah, that's the lowest tier.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where basically using your oils on blighted maps is, would you exalt your tier 16s? And how much reward would you have to get to exalt your tier 16s?
I think it's more rewarding than a single T16 for sure.
A single
Especially
blighted map
XP
might be
wise.
more rewarding, but my point being is, if you're going to spend 3 exalts for 3 golden orbs, you would want to get at least 3 exalts back, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the golden orbs are ridiculous. Opalescent, though, pretty reasonable, I think.
I mean, at least you have in the end, the minimum limit the golden orb can ever be worth is just throwing it in a blinded map.
They're just
I mean-
24 chaos and softcore. Opalescent. That's a fucking good deal.
I mean, go like a month or 2 in even, right? Everything might be flooded, so you always have a use at least at the end. So it's not like completely pointless to have them there, like once the league gets saturated with oils everywhere.
I do wonder whether or not oil drop rates were balanced more around the expected oil drops and like their value a month into the league rather than now. I have to imagine with the rate that they drop at, provided they weren't stealth buffed.
How do you... I'm actually surprised you think the opalescent oil is that good, because increasing the monster pack size doesn't increase the chest reward.
It still increases. The mobs drop items still.
Yeah, but...
Then
So
you
you
get
would
more
pay
XP.
75 chaos for 75% pack size, and when you could get 15% pack size for like nothing?
Opalescence have dropped
that's current
pretty
prices.
quickly. Yeah. No,
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think
Yeah.
opalescence in like a month could
Yeah.
be worth it. When they're like maybe 10 or 15 C.
It might be the break point
Conservative.
for where you upscale all your oils to as well, right? You just try and upscale always to opalescent, so there's going to be an even higher influx of opalescence. I mean, there might be just a floor that we hit, and it's just going to be like the meta to do that. Maybe run quant gear on top and all that,
Someone
the
made a
pack
point
size
I
is
like in
multiplicative.
chat, which is increased crash size per oil.
This is true.
Yeah.
True. You even feel that on the clears, because I've been mostly spamming clears just to make sure that I get to the end, and it kind of reduces lag a little bit. And yeah, even there, the 15% pack size is like, this is a little heavy.
Yeah.
It would be cool if the pack size would be multiplicative, like this harder you roll your map, then the more you get out of it. That'll
Were
be
you
nice.
surprised that blighted maps don't drop oils?
Well, they
Yes.
don't.
No.
I didn't even notice that, to be fair.
Okay, well, does it surprise
That's
you that they
kinda-
don't drop oils?
Huh. Okay.
I guess it kind of surprises me, but I don't know. Not really. I mean, blighted maps are just the thing that surprises me the most about blighted maps is the fact that they're so fucking rare. Everything else is kind of like skewed around that for me.
Yeah.
It's
Because
just-
like
I haven't
it
had
might seem like I'm complaining a lot, but I said this before. Blighted maps are some of the most fun I've had because they are really fun. They're really really fun. It's just frustrating because it's like I don't get them to do them very often. When I do them, they bug or crash. And if you get one which doesn't bug or crashes, it's not even like you're getting a massive like explosion of loot out of it.
It depends on your filter, man. I used my overall filter the first time I
Hey,
did one.
I'm using an
It
awful
actually
filter.
lagged me out.
I'm using an
It
awful
actually,
filter,
like,
but
Lagged the fuck out of me. I had to change my
That's
entire
the
filter.
thing, Dominic.
Yeah,
Too strict.
yeah, too strict. Just loosen up
Imagine
the
if there was
filter.
only one filter we could all run. We would all feel so blessed.
keep in mind you're talking to someone using a really shitty SSF filter, and I'm showing like every single evasion base, gloves and boots, every single ES evasion base. I'm showing a lot of shit. I'm at a point where my filter is so bad, if I do like a juiced up red map, I need to like portal out halfway through if I want to pick up all the loot. So yeah, I'm using
I do that for like when I get into maps in SSF till like level 80, I'll do that, and then I'll jump on a filter that just fucking doesn't show anything, like absolutely zero. So I get where you're coming from. It can be pretty painful, sure.
But okay, so what towers are we liking and not liking? Since we were talking about the whole like tower defense kind of thing.
Liking as in fun or liking as in strong?
What are you using? I guess.
I love the minion scout one, the one that shoots the little beams. I just spam those things and they just fucking off screen like pew 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 the whole time. Dude, that thing is so cool, but it is so bad in red maps. Oh my god. It's just so bad. They do nothing, but the big boy's cool. I like the minion towers a lot, and then obviously you gotta slow shit down. I like the seismic one too. A lot of people don't like it. I like
Oh
it a
really?
lot.
I
Yeah,
think it's
because
really good. It's the
it spreads out mobs. Oh yeah, you like it too. Yeah.
I really liked it at the start, but I found that it was lagging me out, and when I stopped using it, stuff was way less laggy.
Huh. I
Mm.
like the final upgrade on the seismic one, like the slowing field.
Yeah,
top of,
that's really cool. But I think that was causing a lot of my lag. So when I first started playing it, because I was off streaming everything with icicle mines, the only towers I would build would be chilling towers, seismic towers, or minion towers. Then the first blighted maps I was running were crashing, and I think it was Grim who said it to me, like, stop building those and build like fires instead. And then I stopped building those. The only slowing tower I really build now is chilling, and then maybe like a sentinel like near the bulb or something. Once I went mostly like fire spam, my lag just like disappeared.
So the fire ones are good, is what you're saying?
Well, it's because they just kill mobs. That's the thing. It's like the more mobs you have on a screen at once, the more lag you have. And also the particle effects aren't that big. Whereas with the chilling tower, because of like all the tendrils, when it targets too many enemies, that like causes like lag. And then same with the like petrification tower, when it like targets too many enemies, it lags. And it's like you want to minimize as much VFX on the screen as possible, and then just kill as many enemies as possible.
And that's why all I ever build is the lightning one with the thunderstorm. That one, top design, GGG. Real good job on that one. What the fuck? Like, what were they thinking?
Wait,
it's
what
just
is
like,
that?
it's the one with the thunderstorm. You never made it? Thank
No,
God,
the
dude.
thunder one sucks. I was like, no, I
Yeah, but
have
it's
my
like
skitter
it just
bots.
covers the
Fuck it.
screen. It just covers the entire screen with like lightning, and it's a single tower. It's insane. Like one tower just lags me down to like 5 FPS completely. Try it out for yourselves, guys.
Okay, I'll try it next time.
It's
Mass
literally
lightning.
yeah, it's literally useless, and it just lags like insane. It's like storm.
like
It's like you've got 50 storm curls on your screen or something. It's ridiculous. Blech. Octavian, which towers do you like?
Glacial Cage.
Yeah, the more the better.
Because every time I say Glacial Cage, I picture Nicolas Cage in a parka. Also, I can cyclone through them. Because cyclone gives you phasing, so they don't get in my way at all, and they stop the enemies.
For me, it's a kind of a last resort. I'll typically upgrade my frost towers to like 3, and if there's a big boy coming through or something, then I'll give it. What about the other one, the one that shoots the little ice?
No,
that one seems shitty.
My thoughts on that one, no.
Do I want an AoE slow, or do I want a tower that shoots once every 10 minutes and doesn't hit anything?
To be fair, it's shit, but the final upgrade, if you spend like oils, your freeze bolt tower fires 2 additional proj. So maybe if you had that on both of your rings and it shot 5 spears, maybe it'd be okay. Maybe.
And then
you can have one of the good power towers and just upgrade those instead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you come across one of the events where like they're all immune to the cold
they're like 90% resistant cold. Oh. Well, that's one thing I wanted to ask you guys. It seems to be very often I'll get an encounter, more so in maps, where it's like 7 of the portals all resist 1 element.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Where it's like, it's either 1 or 2, not like a complete mix.
Yeah, I think the goal there, maybe from GGG's side, was not to like have it be a ton of different things, so you felt punished whatever you were building, and to like force you off a playstyle onto another one, but not just say no to everything.
And it does suck because sometimes you do get that where it's like frost, minions, seismic, fire, and I'm just like, I guess I'm not building towers in this one. It's like, what the fuck?
But then the trick there is just to look where they spawn, right? And then you counter. That's the idea, at least, right? Then you have to be smart about it all of a sudden and actually pay attention. I mean, that's like the one part I like, is that you are rewarded somehow, like somewhat with actually paying attention to like how they're like branching out or where the specific towers are and blocking at the right moments. I mean, whenever you get into that small part, that it doesn't happen that often, but I mean that's like the one time I at least have some fun.
Would you
with the
say you're
system.
really rewarded though? Because I
No,
keep
I
making
mean,
the argument that they should flip it from resistances to weaknesses, because then you would be rewarded for paying attention to the
right.
rules.
I mean, you are, because they don't just run through. It's like you don't make a mistake at least. I mean, you feel like you're slightly rewarded. It's not like the biggest thing ever, because most of the time, like with minions, you kill everything anyway. So just your minion.
I agree with Tarke though. I think it feels more rewarding and more
Yeah, it
impactful
probably
on the part
would.
of the player, where
Yeah.
like you feel like you exploited something rather like feeling like you're being
Yeah.
rewarded is a better feeling than feeling like you're not being punished.
Right. I wouldn't argue against that. I'm just saying that in these on these occasions when I actually have to play around with my towers, it feels better
You felt
than when I
smart,
just
and that was nice.
Yes. It felt better than just going slow minion, slow minion, slow minion, slow minion. Because that staggers them the most, and my minions can just do whatever and they don't reach the middle.
See, for me, I'm a sucker for like the long range stuff because of like if you were to play a real tower defense, then you would have like the long range shit, be able to shoot like far away. So that's why I like the minion scouts and all this sort of stuff. So like in that way, it really, there's no traction there, and those things are kind of weak. So I'm just like,
I think that part of the problem is that GGG specifically designed this mechanic that it like has to be watered down. Like we're asking for a proper tower defense game that's its own whole game essentially.
Yes.
But they can't just take that and port it into the base game because that's too intrusive, especially for people who just don't like it in the first place and want to just have, monsters to kill in a line. Which I'm not trying to say there's something inherently wrong with that. It's just it seems impossible to please both camps to any reasonable degree at the same time.
So instead, we're pleasing nobody.
Well, no. So instead, blighted maps exist, and blighted maps are where the tower defense shit really matters. But the mechanic in maps is watered down as hell. So blighted maps, if that's the solution we're going with, blighted maps need to work. They need to be even more intense, hopefully, and they need to be more rewarding
and be more common.
Yes, that would be nice too.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Oh, fuck you, Raiz. We agree on something.
Okay.
With
how many times have you guys run Einhard this league?
30.
I've run him quite a lot.
I all of them,
I
pretty
burned
much.
through all my master missions over the last couple of days.
Fuck, which master did you not run?
I've run them all, man.
I've run all
You
of
guys
them.
run them all?
I've saved all of my Nikos because it's bugged. I'm waiting for them to fix the bugs, then I'll run it. But I've been spamming all the towers and all the missions.
Delve's pretty much fixed now.
Is it?
Thing is,
I've been doing a bunch and I haven't run into a bugged mission in a couple days.
Oh, sick! I've been saving up everything from League Start. All right, cool.
They fixed it a bunch of days ago, yeah. But the thing is, like, I think especially with Blight, it's okay to give the people who want it to be really fun the stuff necessary for that, and the people who don't like it, they don't gotta run it. I don't think it's super rewarding. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it intrudes on your gameplay. If you don't like it, it's okay not to run it. My point with Einhard was supposed to be that you've got other masters to run. That's why we don't do Einhard, because there's not that much going on. But
hey man,
we're playing some Spider War, dude. It's insane.
Yeah, I've gotten a spider and a crab boss fight so far.
Oh damn. I mean, I've been running it too, but not nearly as much. Because for me, if the functionality was there with the master missions, I guess I don't know if that's going to be a separate topic. But yeah, it's kind of annoying going to the master, and then you've got a portal here, a portal there. You've got temple open. You've got a safe house. You have to remake your hideout. Like all of this stuff really.
No, I agree with that.
It's a lot of running around in your hideout. So Einhard was my way to minimize that for sure.
I think you can read into some of the pre-release material though and see that GGG very much were concerned about the league being a bit far out there for people, and people who weren't a fan of tower defense just not enjoying it at all. They specifically said, I think in a Game Informer, thing. I think Chris Wilson said that, like, for people who aren't a fan of tower defense, don't worry. These events will take between 30 seconds and maybe a minute at most, and you can get to the point where you're powerful enough where you don't have to deal with the towers. And the whole point of a build in the end game is to min-max to as high power as you can. So does that not inevitably mean that any build with good clear is going to inevitably get to the point where they don't need towers and maps?
That's not my GGG, okay? My GGG puts in fucking lab into the game and shoves it down your throat until you fucking love it, okay? Not my GGG, man. This watered down shit that doesn't satisfy anybody.
Yeah,
I'm not
you
with
on
it.
that.
No,
Mhm.
I agree. Because it is frustrating, because it's one of those cases. It's what I always say this to Octavian, it's like, with the current implementation of Einhar, we feel cheated because we enjoyed the original mechanic.
Yep.
And now the current version doesn't really please anyone. It's neat to do every now and again. And that's kind of how I feel about Blight. I really enjoy Blight, and I want to do more Blight. And this is Blight League. And I'm going to be pissed if in 3 months from now, I've got 10% of this. Because it's like, I'm enjoying it now, and I feel like I'm not running the content enough now. So I don't want to have to run it even fucking less 3 months from now. If at all. If it even makes it into the game, you know?
I don't think it's gonna make it.
Yeah, it pisses me off.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's fun for a lot of people, but I don't think it's gonna make it. If anything, this is gonna be one of those, yeah, it was fun, but like we gotta start cutting back on some of this shit, guys. And if this would be one of the first leagues to go in that way, I think. Because a lot of the recent leagues have had such major implications. I mean, Legion was just too much effort from just like a design point of view, and when it comes to timeless jewels and whatnot, and yeah, you can provide people from like another source. But in terms of actual gameplay, it didn't feel so essential. This doesn't feel essential either, but there's nothing beyond that. Like the anointment system isn't that big. I don't know. It would
okay.
suck to see, but
There is
yeah.
there's one thing I think we have to like just say that, or at least I think so. With the anointment system, the fact that you can see what you're getting on the tree and you can plan towards that, I think that is more of that, more quality just UI features. I think that was so nice that I could just like, oh, right there and there, and it's like just more of
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
I
That's
need
good.
one that's randomized though.
Hmm?
I need a combination of things that randomizes like a major passive or something. Like I need there to be a sync for this because it's gonna get out
Yeah.
of hand.
Well, that was meant to be
Oh,
the oils
sure.
on blighted maps,
Okay.
but they don't do enough, and there's not enough blighted maps. Like, that system could work. It really could. It just needs to be adjusted, I think. Like,
Mm-hmm.
give you even more insane things for higher tier oils. Like, go all out. If golden oils are going to be very rare and you can use them on blighted maps, make them give the crap load of returns for using
Did
them.
you see like my doc or the video that I made? And I was saying one thing which would be a nice addition for both people who like and dislike it would be if you could spend oils. So there was some way that you could upgrade the pump, so you could put it into like overdrive. It loses durability, but it pumps the waves faster, speeding up the events. Or you could do the reverse where it goes slower. So if your build is struggling or you're playing like melee or some shit, you could have a slower event. Or if you're playing in hardcore and you don't want to die. And then if you're like a summoner and your build like completely outgears it, you can speed it up so it's like a more, because that would create an oil sink, which would be nice.
It's just more micromanagement though, right?
Is it? If it
Yeah,
was just
the
like,
one
I'm
thing.
worried
like if there was
about.
like an upgrade button, like when you start the event, there's like an upgrade button. You can click it or not click it to spend some resource or oil or whatever.
But then you have to
I
have the
think-
oil in your inventory, right?
Well, then ignore the oils. Then just make it like. How would you feel if you could make it like pump faster and use your ability, or you had like a slower option?
I would love it. I think it's really annoying the way you have to like even the fact that you have to click the button to start up the event is like I get where they're coming from with this, but and I would get if there were like pauses or waves or something like that, but the button, it's like I'm just talking with chat or something, and then 15 seconds go by, I'm just like, where the fuck are these? Oh, okay. Then, right.
They already have the tech to, like, detect where you're standing and start a wave. in the timeless domain of conflict when you stand in the middle. They could do a similar thing for blight pumps, where you can just stand on top of the pump for a couple seconds, it charges up and starts, so that you don't have
I
to
love
click
that.
a button. You just stand somewhere.
Yeah, that'd be
Great
cool.
idea. It's because you never really do anything other than that. Like maybe once in a year, you're gonna have like a breach next to it, and you'll do that at the same time. But yeah, I think the positioning thing is a great idea for sure.
I agree with that. One thing, because you mentioned it a little bit about like stuff like Chris was saying beforehand, did you pick up on how in the original trailer for Blight he says the enemies have weaknesses?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know if that wasn't just unfortunate wording though,
It could have been.
because even I think we talked about that on the last Baeclast with Jonathan and Neon, and they like clarified that
Yeah, they said it
pretty
was resistance.
confidently. Yeah.
I mean, there's a few things that in pre-release materials don't end up going through. Like, didn't they? I might be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure that in some of the pre-release material having to do with the master missions, they said if you found a master in a map and you didn't want to do that, you would be able to save it for later, essentially. But now, instead of that system, you just get master tokens that you then get to use, which, the system is still great. I'm a fan of it. Just not everything goes into the game the way they initially planned it to.
I mean, the Synthesis trailer is a good example of that. Like, the trailer we saw was a completely different League mechanic to what we actually got.
Yeah.
So. But anyway, when it comes to like the performance issue side of things, I think people would be pretty pissed if you like don't touch on it. Like, I don't know, what do you even say about it? There's the issue.
I'm gonna get a beer.
But the game, they need to be less. They need to be less aggressive in their scope as to how far they're pushing the number of monsters they're putting on screen and the number of effects those monsters are doing and that sort of thing. Or they need to like take some time and do an even smaller in scope league in order to be able to work on improving these technical issues, especially for people on lower NPCs, because we're reaching a tipping point. Like it's becoming too much of a problem. It's not just the current league mechanic anymore. Like there's so much, I think the term is technical debt from previous leagues, with things like Legion being incredibly laggy too. I don't know. Maybe it's even in Throne is even sharper relief for me because it's the first time I'm league starting hardcore, but it's just so terrifying opening any Legion or doing any Blight event with more than like 6 portals, because I'm not worried about my build being able to handle it. I'm very tanky at this point. I've got all my gear together that I want, but my game might just die, and that's a health bar I can't build anymore. Like I can't get any block chance for game crashes.
Yeah, the lag, it kind of came out of nowhere, honestly. The last thing I thought about was that it's gonna be laggy.
Really?
Yeah, it's
I
because
was going into it extremely trepidatious that it would be, because like it's tons of monsters on the screen.
no, that totally makes sense, but it's like it's the one thing. It's so obvious that it's the one thing you'd think they accounted for like the most they possibly could, you know? It's like this will be the big cock block, so let's not fuck this up, and then they fucked it up. So
Jonathan said it on the last Baeclast that we had him on, but like when we were talking about, I think it was Headhunter or something like that, and there was a suggestion from someone to say like max it out at 10 stacks or something, and Jonathan's like, no, we don't like to do that. We don't like to put artificial limits on things. We don't like to say you just can't do X. And I think GGG have that mentality, and in a lot of places it's really good, but in some places in their design it pushes them over the edge towards designing something that they don't have the ability in the small time frame that they
Do you
give
want to know how
themselves to
to
actually
trigger
properly
everyone in
implement.
chat on exactly on that nation? How long was Burning Ground in the game for? How many years did that cause lag? And they were like, we're not going to remove it. We want to fix it. And it was like, how many years did it take to fix Burning Ground?
I mean, Cannot Die is the same, but this is different though because, well, no, Burning Ground was the same, but most of the issues nowadays, even with Legion, the people that have been lagging, it's mostly server lag. to me, I really rarely ever had like actual FPS lag. It's mostly server, and this is like this fucking just burns my computer up. I'm like, it's just really bad. I haven't really had that for a very long time.
Oh, you mean in this league is an exception to that? Okay.
Yeah. So
honestly, what surprises or not surprises me, but what worries me most is how many of the older mechanics it is that are failing. As you know, I did expect Blight, because they have a short development cycle and it's an ambitious league. I did expect Blight to be laggy and crashy. I'm not gonna lie. I just assumed it would be. But like Legion is worse than it was in Legion, and there's an issue with betrayal enemies where so I'm still not 100% certain on this, but it's happened to me every time. Whenever Verici shows up in research, my game crashes, just like hard crash. And that's almost gotten me killed twice now. I can't get him off my chart. He doesn't want to leave. He wants me dead.
Honestly, it was funny because everybody was like, this is the smoothest launch ever. And there was a Reddit thread in the first like 48 hours. And I constantly had people in my chat going, fuck it, I keep crashing, this shit won't work, it keeps logging me out, it's a fucking queue, everything's terrible. And I was totally fine. I logged in, had one disconnect, never had one crash, everything's perfect. And then eventually GGG rolled out the patch where they fixed everything. Yeah. Dude, crashes non-stop, like 15 in a day. I'm just like, what the fuck did you do?
It's a shame because, like I said at the top of the podcast, I actually think that Blight as a mechanic is one of the more well-balanced ones on release in terms of like random bullshitty difficulty spikes. Like it's not, in my opinion, nearly as bad as Betrayal or even Bestiary in its time, or Legion for something more recent. Like I think Blight is pretty well-rounded, could use some leveling out here and there, and maybe even bring some things up, make them a little bit more difficult. Like half the bosses are just health sponges that don't do shit. It really is just the crashes that are like ruining a hardcore start.
Fuck hardcore, man.
I mean, I can't imagine it's fun crashing. I know it's not fun crashing in softcore because I usually start that, and that's no fun either.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I kind of miss the monsters attacking you because they really don't. I think that's also why we're not seeing any bullshit, because you're just killing them. They're just rolling in, like mindless zombies.
So, I mean, I don't know.
They can fuck you up.
I mean, I guess if you stand in their way, that's true. They're pretty scary if you stand in their way. And then there's the occasional, if you run an LMP monster and it's like, right? That's like that.
The
Beyond
fireball
that,
goats,
I haven't really seen.
basically. Like the fireball goats are
like
the thing that I will
and the
look
one
out
boss,
for.
And the one boss that got sis.
There's like a
the one that the Undying Alchemist boss that fired. I was terrified by that clip, so I like went through it and like second by second. It's a giant version of the Undying Alchemist, and it throws out golems with a projectile attack that then also have a projectile attack. So if you're in an extra proj map, it's double dipping on the extra proj for how dangerous it is. It's terrifying.
What does the big like magma ball on the ground? I still haven't been able to figure it out. It's surely a boss, but I've never seen a boss around it. Yeah, there's like a big magma ball.
Yeah, it like throws like a fiery boulder at you or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that does.
There's a kind of goat that summons a meteor that when it lands creates magma on the ground.
It's a goat.
It's a goat variety of monster.
Is it a unique one?
It might be. It's hard to tell. I've only had it come up a few times.
I can't tell.
I know there's at least one unique goat, but it's a big jumpy one.
Do you know what that fucker does?
He jumps?
No, but do you know what? Like, he doesn't jump down the path. He seems to jump wherever he wants.
I've had him show up with the portal that was like, a very close distance to my thing, to my pump, and he spawned and then just jumped on the pump and I lost. He's just like, nah, you fucking lose. See ya.
See, I can't work out how that fucker works because I've had him spawn miles away from my pump. He doesn't come down the line. He seems to sort of jump off the lanes and shit. And sometimes he doesn't even go for my bulb. Sometimes he just like fucks off elsewhere. I might be making this up, but I think there's a weird thing with skitterbots where because they're invulnerable, they aggro enemies. and enemies are like, I'm gonna kill these
Yeah.
invulnerable minions.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fuck you up. But the minions don't
That's
do
strange.
anything. And
Okay,
I think that what causes him to like just go mental is he's like aggroing onto my bots or something, and then he's just like,
I think there was some sort of weird AI change, and it fucked up a lot of different AIs. Have you guys done Death and Taxes?
Oh,
Yep.
the death. Oh my god.
Had to
You haven't done that
despawn
map at all?
everything.
not yet. What's happening to
I
it?
tried to do it, but it was gonna take an hour, so I left.
There
Wait.
you go. Because the boss keeps going back and fucking
Yes,
forth
he's
non-stop,
buggy.
Oh.
like non-stop. So
It
maybe
might be a problem with minions specifically.
It is.
Yeah.
But yeah, he'll take like 2 steps forward and then forget you exist and try and go back to the start of the map, or sometimes just randomly walk to a corner and stand there like he's ashamed of himself or something. I don't fucking know, but it was so annoying. I'm not gonna have the 1% completion. It's okay.
That's
I mean-
exactly what's happening with the leaping dude. So yeah, it's my skitterbots then
Yeah.
breaking it. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It
Huh.
could be that. I mean, with the goat guy, it can be very favorable. I remember he was like coming down the line, and I was just like, "Fuck, he's gonna get me." I think it was even in a blighted like arachnid nest or something. And then he was like the last guy. I'm like, "No, I'm gonna fail this whole fucking thing." He was like jumping, and then he's like stopped 2 meters away from the pump and just jumped away. From it. I'm just like,
Nah.
"Wait, what?"
Have you guys gotten the stone golem that splits, the Matryoshka doll of stone
Yeah.
golem? That guy has so much health. I
Mm-hmm.
was running a Minotaur map, and I got that boss, and it caused me to fail it. And I swear, every single split of him had twice as much health as Minotaur.
Yeah.
Like,
Crazy thing.
The splits do full damage as well.
I didn't even know he did damage. I've literally never seen him attack. He just walks and has a lot of health. I thought that was his whole shtick.
No,
He's
he
just a
will
health
straight
bar.
one shot like the pump, and like the things he splits into do
Well,
as much damage
and
as
he-
the big dude.
Oh yeah, that is annoying. That's what you meant. Any unique enemy that touches the pump does 10,
Yeah.
and the map pumps only have 10. Which, yeah, I don't know. You could maybe cut that in half.
What do
But-
the roly-poly skellies do? They always seem to just ignore the lanes and just do whatever the fuck they want.
The ones that
I-
spin?
Yeah, the spinny skellies, they don't seem to follow the lanes. They seem to just run straight to the bulb, like, off lane and stuff.
Wait,
There are
which ones?
some
The ones
enemies
that
that
roll
jump
like
off the
this, or
lane.
the ones that roll like
the
this?
ones that roll like this. The ones you get in, like, Act 6.
Oh.
The wheels. The wheel skeletons.
I thought you were talking about the cage
Um,
guys that shoot spark. Those
No,
guys
no,
have
the
some
wheel
weird behavior too.
skellies from Act 6.
Okay.
like these things, guys. Little
Okay,
wheel
okay,
like
okay.
that.
They're both from Act 6. Oh,
The things you put on bicycles and cars.
I
Those
get it.
boys. Yeah.
Yes, the Dark Souls ripoff. I get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I don't know. They just kind of fall over. They're squishy.
What a mechanic. To be fair though, I do welcome it with open hands. Compared to Legion, man, I needed a break. Legion fucking just busted my mentality when it came to hardcore PoE. With everybody around
Huh.
you quitting and leaving, I was just Legion. On Trade League, it was totally fine, but without Timeless Jewels, oh, dear God.
Did
Like the
you ever
Death
do
Sentence.
an endless monolith in the end?
Fuck no.
Fucking such a. Oh. That's.
You
I don't know
gonna do
why it
one
makes
this
me so
league?
angry that you haven't done one.
At this point, I've made it a point. It's a point. It has to
Right.
be done. I mean, I'm gonna do it now, but I refused to do it last week.
Hmm.
It was entertaining. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, so what do we think of like ignoring the random bullshit where like a portal spawns too close to a pump, and the ones where like the AI breaks? How do you feel about the general difficulty for both the map encounters and the actual maps themselves?
I can't speak to the maps, having not done them yet, but I think that it's close to being good. I think you need to iron out what you mentioned with portal spawning too close, and honestly, I think a few of the unique bosses need to be buffed. Maybe just make their AI more aggressive when you're in their path, where they actually attack you, because to me, a lot of them have just felt like health sponges where they don't do things. and just walk slowly towards the portal or towards the pump. And if you have the damage to kill them, you win. If you don't, then you lose on a timer, essentially. But yeah, I actually think it's pretty close to being good.
Can you hover over them? I don't even know if that's an option, but it would be cool if you could just hover over things and it would tell you what they actually do. Because it
Oh,
gets pretty confusing.
you
It's like
can
this
name
guy-
lock them, but I haven't seen any descriptions or anything, just a name.
Yeah. That would be cool if they just said what they did. Then I would be all
Yeah,
for
that'd be
kind of
nice.
juicing them up a little bit. Because right now it's like this guy walks towards me and then he kind of dies. And
Or one other thing would be, it would be nice if it were easier to tell which portal was which through the menu, because it is a little tough sometimes. Like if there's only one portal with a fire resistance, and that is also the portal the boss is coming out of, then you know where the boss is coming from. But if there's a whole bunch of different portals with all the same resistance, and one of them has the icon, it can be a little tough to tell which one the boss will pop out of. You could just have the boss icon show up on the in-game portal as well as the little UI at the bottom.
in general, I'm surprised that they haven't, like, considering how clusterfucky it was clearly going to be in terms of visuals. I'm surprised that they didn't just use the lines to have different colors to indicate different things, like a boss coming, or this is the blue one is the cold resistance one, like that, you know?
Yeah. Or have
They
might have
Cassia say a
considered that.
line when a boss spawns, you know.
Yes, Kasha has too few voice lines.
Probably a lot of people keep saying
Kasha
probably
has
because they
me-
didn't think that it was going to be in the
Who's
core
Kasha?
game.
Sorry, Cashew. My bad. Has too
It's-
few voice lines.
It's a type of grain in Polish, so kasha. It's like nice.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's because Keisha. I'm just going to get it wrong every time now. Keisha won't make it into the core game, so they didn't want to give her too many lines, which I could maybe believe, like post synthesis, since they did put so many voice lines into that, and they knew this was going to be kind of an experimental league. Maybe they didn't want to have like a repeat of that. But it is annoying
do
that
you mean,
Quiche
dude?
doesn't say something. You know what I mean?
Like, I know what mycelium is.
What does it mean, Octavian? Are you sure? I need to take notes.
God.
But
It's new roots, Tarke. That's what it is.
okay. I like Rikishi though. I think she's cool. It's just she's a bit. I wish she had more than one line. That'd be nice.
Yeah, but then they have to put her in the game, Tarky, don't you know? Haven't you heard? If there's voice lines, you have to.
I mean,
brought...
to be fair though, voice acting is like one of the most expensive parts of game development, so I completely understand why it doesn't have many voice lines. Also, I'm not saying this is how they do it. This is like some random fun voice acting facts. This isn't true for everything, but generally speaking, you pay by the line. So you might have like 20 takes of the same line, so you want to reuse all of those takes rather than recording like 20 different ones. So yeah, that might be also be another reason.
You can outsource all of it so easily now, dude. Like you can go to fucking Wayne June, who does Darkest Dungeon narrator right now, man, and get like
He's cool.
an entire script for like $200, man. I mean,
I always think of.
But
Do
how
you remember
good
the
is it?
Star Wars MMO that came
it's
out?
Wayne June, dude. It's pretty good.
I can't remember what that was called. But their voice acting budget was insane. They spent something like, what was it? Something like 200 million or something on voice acting or something stupid. It
Jesus.
was, yeah.
200 million?
Hang on, I'm trying to find the exact quote.
People are saying the Old Republic.
Yeah.
Is that the online one or the? Because I know the online
The Old
Star Wars
Republic,
game
the one
had
that came out a couple of years ago. Like the budget for the game was 200 million, but there was a stat where something came out and like their biggest spender was the voice acting or some shit. I'll try and find the number as we're going on. But anyway, I'm getting like really distracted now. But
yeah. Doesn't sound right. I don't know. I mean, GGG seems really. Maybe it's like hard to outsource stuff like this because they always want people on, like there, you know, with everything they do. Pretty much. I don't know if they outsource anything. Maybe the only thing being the music.
Often often it's more difficult in a smaller economy like that because it's fairly restrictive, like governmentally. You have to prove that the person you're getting to do the thing, you couldn't find someone in the country to do the thing instead. And so like it's a laborious process to get anyone outside of New Zealand in. It's probably just a lot easier for them to find somebody in New Zealand if they can, which is the whole point of the system, because that way the New Zealand economy doesn't get entirely outsourced and New Zealand doesn't collapse as a small island economy.
I
Because
never
GGG
thought
doesn't
about.
get
Not specifically GGG, but like, you know, it's meant to be difficult more difficult to outsource things because otherwise there'd be economic problems on a larger scale.
I see.
Yeah, because I know they have really screwed up laws when it comes to that. I never thought about that affecting the voice acting, but yeah, of course it would affect their voice acting. So they have to source everything from New Zealand. Because I know a lot of people who are trying to get jobs over there, and they are going through a lot of hurdles, and it's getting really complicated. And it's been like a year in the working of them, like, we're going over. Wait, hang on.
New Zealand,
immigration
or
shutting it. Yeah. Like, it's getting
Or for
shut
GGG?
down, and other people having to step in, and we're having to talk to the government, and it's like getting really complex just to get this one dude over there, and they're like, nah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you really? I think that the voice acting they've had in PoE like all year has just been really good. I don't know.
I'm not saying Cash's lines are bad. I'm saying I want more of them.
Yeah.
I'm saying they're too
I mean,
repetitive.
they need to bring in. Is that like a problem of bringing in more people when whoever is doing it is doing a great job?
I'm not saying anything against them. I was just saying it was expensive, and obviously it's got to be more expensive.
sure.
You've got to stay in office. That was all. But no, the voice acting's really good. There's just not many lines.
I don't know.
Except
I enjoy her lines. I think I kind of enjoy it. I don't know.
Yeah, but you stopped playing the league, to be fair, so you haven't.
Well,
to keep
come
hearing
on!
them.
I've played the league every single day. I've done every single Blight encounter I run into.
To be fair, though,
You quit.
Okay, I gotta say,
You quit
I'm
forever,
really
Noogie.
sick and fucking tired of people saying I quit. When I'm like reading up on stuff every day, I watch fucking streams, I stream every day, I have God knows how many hours in this game. Fuck off.
hang on, Noogie.
No, and then fuck you.
I'm
serious.
Just so we're clear,
wonderful-
Noogie. I do like the fact that you have more hours in this league than a lot of people are going to have in the first month.
Yes.
So there's a very big difference between someone like getting to like late 90s and being like, okay, I'm done for now, rather than someone who's like, I got my 3 characters to 80 and now I'm done.
The frustrating part is that he still plays, right? Like, I know how that is, where it's like, okay, guys, I have 16 hours in a day. I'm gonna play this for 8 hours and this for 8 hours, and it's like always, why doesn't he play this game anymore? It's like, dog, like.
The thing that triggers me is when you come at me. I'm like, okay,
I
on
joking, dude.
I'm
no,
on your
but
board.
it's then I have to hear it even more. It's not. Fuck.
If it makes you feel any better, whenever I talk about anything which isn't PoE, I get spammed with why do you hate this game? I'm getting the WoW Classic memes. Raiz is getting the WoW Classic memes. Every single second.
Why do you hate this game, Tarke?
I hate it mostly because of Raiz. But every single second of the last episode we have is Raiz is clearly just thinking about Classic WoW. Raiz is just reading patch notes. Raiz is just reading patch notes.
Raiz is sleeping, or Raiz is fucking thinking about WoW. Is he even there? Like, for one time, I shut the fuck up and don't talk the entire show nonstop, and people are like, "Oh my god, what's happening?"
Yeah.
Octavian,
how does it feel to be the only person who still enjoys Path of Exile?
It's pretty lonely, man.
God damn.
At the top.
The best is when people come into my chat and then I'm not streaming because I haven't had internet, and then people are like, I have it on my BattleNet. He's doing fucking UBRS right now, and I'm just like, dog, I haven't turned on WoW since League launch. Like, come on, man. I'm gonna lie about that. So
we all know the reason your internet is conveniently down is so you can get more hours in on your alt account. We all know that.
I made another secret account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has anyone actually done that you guys have seen yet, as far as streams you've watched or accounts you've made yourself? Not alt accounts in WoW. I'm sorry, I'm jumping a little bit, but alt accounts in Path to take advantage of master missions.
I was actually considering doing that.
I mean, I haven't myself because I want to keep pushing XP in my current characters. It would be time efficient, but I am considering it later because of the master mission value for deep delving, and that's like my next goal.
I thought about it, but SSF, which was a big reason why I wanted to get SSF this league, because I didn't feel tempted to do that, because I thought I would be tempted to do it. So,
Fuck.
I was just curious if any of you guys have seen a streamer or
not yet.
know of someone who's been doing it.
I mean,
I might do a few accounts just to set it up for when I roll trade. If I ever do that, just have a few, like just rolling in, rewards every day. Like the earlier you do it, the more you get.
That makes sense. And besides, when you're making those accounts, then you can get rest time in WoW. And then when you're playing WoW, you get the dailies.
That's right.
And then you never have to play any game because we all know that it's heavy work, right?
yeah, kids go on holiday for the rest of the league. Sounds amazing.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That is true.
I'm gonna do that right now.
One thing I did want to mention, since I haven't played melee in like leagues upon leagues, but people keep saying Tarke, make sure you talk about it. Melee is fucked this league. Is melee
really?
fucked this league? I don't know if any of us have really played melee or.
I'm not really playing melee. Cyclone is technically in my build.
You've got like all the minions doing everything for you there, right? So,
yes.
Yeah.
Are you surviving at least as melee? Are you like rolling around in everything and being fine?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Then
like the
melee's
only
fine.
close calls I've had are with crashes, or if I like face tank some bloodline stuff or something that I shouldn't, like mistakes or crashes.
I played Blade Vortex and Orb of Storms, and that's way more melee than any melee build I know. So,
how's that going?
I think truly melee
I quit.
strikes could have a problem.
Why did you quit? Like
It wasn't
specifically?
fun.
Because of the mechanic, or is this
No,
like
no, I just wasn't having fun. I just throw it in for a meme. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm broken with BV and Orb of Storms. Just
okay?
too gimmicky for my own
Right.
personal thing. I don't know. How did people justify the melee is broken? I know that there's a couple encounters with Blight that are pretty fucked up. If you were watching Waggles rip, for instance, he's like, "Oh, it's the goat. Oh, I'm dead."
Right. Though, just keep jumping.
Yeah.
I don't really know. It's one of those things of as many messages you've had about quitting PvE to play WoW. I had you better talk about melee, Tarke. You scumbag. You have to address melee on Baeclast.
I can definitely see pure, actual, like, up in your face strike melee skills being a problem, like Glacial Hammer or Heavy Strike or Dual Strike. But is that really such a change?
I mean, they're bad
think
every
the problem.
league, right?
Yeah, I think the problem isn't with the mechanic in that, if we're talking about those skills, but rather with those skills still. Like we still need to. Glacial Hammer is still an elephant in the room, in my opinion. We still need to do more about it.
Elephant? It's like a mouse, dude. Nobody gives a fuck about it.
Maybe.
Just ask Kaiser, guys. Come. Oh wait, never mind. Okay. Playing well too.
One thing that I have seen, and it worries me a little bit, only really because I enjoy the league. I think I wouldn't care about this if I didn't enjoy Blight as much as I did. Do you think there's some concern that with the importance of having a working 3.9 demo for ExileCon in like 2 months, that this league's going to receive less attention, kind of what we saw with Synthesis and Legion, where they were kind of like, yeah, sorry guys, we're going to like sit this one down and just focus on the next league?
I think a part of that was also them cutting losses because Synthesis was so poorly received. So they were just like doubling down on working on future things to make sure that like there wasn't that big of a debacle. Whereas Blight, well, we've talked about some of our issues with it. It's got its problems. It's certainly no Synthesis in its reception. I think the reason why there's a smaller player base is less to do with Blight and more to do with things like Classic WoW and Borderlands 3 and other releases right now that I can't think of.
Yeah, I think people are
think
very conveniently not mentioning that when they like complain about the numbers being low, like sending me Steam. I've been sent Steam charts like every hour over the last couple of days, and I'm like, well, yeah, everyone's playing the other shit. What's GGG gonna do? Like assassinate dev members from other teams so no other games ever come out? Like, no.
Don't give them ideas, Tarke.
Sorry.
I
Don't
mean,
GGG if you're watching this. Don't kill other developers. That's naughty. No.
yeah, don't do it.
Don't kill people. Sorry, continue, Raiz.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people didn't give this league the time of the day, I think, and they won't at this point because of the other stuff, but also because it sucks because it's not a tower defense. I mean, it's kind of like how how everybody was saying that Bestiary is gonna be Pokemon, but everybody likes
Mhm.
Pokemon, so they tried Bestiary. And then it wasn't like Pokemon, it was like Bestiary, and so people didn't like it. It's kind of like this with tower defense, where people who are saying, I don't like tower defense, I'm not going to try this league, should have tried the league because they might not like tower defense. They might have liked this because it doesn't feel like one. So
Yeah.
it's kind of unfortunate.
I personally really get bored by tower defense incredibly quickly. I've never played a tower defense game for more than like 2 or 3 rounds. I've tried a handful of them,
Really?
but none of them have held my attention. Yeah. So the fact that I rather like Blight as a mechanic came as a surprise to me. I expected to be indifferent to it.
Did you ever play
yeah.
Orcs Must Die?
Yeah, not a big fan of it. I mean, I'm not saying I like hate them. They just don't hold my attention. I'm indifferent. I'd rather do other things.
They should have done Bestiary and Blight as one league, and it would have been like a Pokemon, and then everybody would love it.
Tarke, since you mentioned it earlier, they can never go back to the old bestiary system now. The final nail is in the coffin with the new master system because you'll be
Why?
able to take Einhar and put him in whatever map you
Yeah.
want, and
Yes,
thus target
which is-
whatever beast you want.
Yes,
Mm.
isn't
Which
that
would be kind
perfect?
of cool, to be fair.
I feel like
I
that's
think that
perfect.
would be too good. That would be too strong.
Too
Yeah.
strong?
I mean,
I don't think they can go back to the old system
It's
anymore.
like
Not that
random
there's any
cheese.
inkling that they'd want to.
Too strong
You know.
coming from the guy who's playing Summoner? Come on, man.
On that line of thought, though, if they were to combine Bestiary and Blight, it would actually work really well because you could have specific like fungal monsters on certain tile sets and certain oils coming from certain things. So it's kind of like if you're playing WoW, which some of us have recently, if you want to farm a particular herb, you go to the zone that gives the herb. So it's like, oh, I need to go to the jungle tile sets for these oils with these monster types. That would actually be sick. That would work. 3.9 better be the Bestiary X Blight League. Yes.
I don't want to rain on this parade. I really don't. I'm so happy.
It would be so good.
I like the idea too, honestly.
Mhm.
I think there needs to be, like, especially since divination cards kind of fill that purpose, but for so few things where it's like you do a zone or you do a specific guy. Every time I go back to Diablo 2, and this league has been very Diablo 2 in at least scaling a lot of things, I kind of miss it. So yeah, I would like to see that actually. You want a spider? Go do some Arachnid Nest. No problem.
yeah.
We kind of already talked about the anoint stuff. We sort of talked about the skill stuff. So, like, summoners feel broken to you, but how do you feel about, like, Necro in general?
How do you mean
the new
Necro in
Necro.
Like, the new
general?
Necro versus
This-
old Necro now that you've played the new Necro.
Oh, well, I've not specifically played the new Necro, but I think
I'm
Necromancer
looking at the man
is
making the funny faces on
ridiculous.
his camera.
Raiz?
It's a tricky subject because I think Necromancer defeats the entire purpose of the rework. Making it so that they don't want summoners to be dependent on playing a Necromancer while at the same time, and on like plus gems, while at the same time implementing a change where an ascendancy has plus gems, which is super boring and also absolutely necessary, and it like builds the entire ascendancy around it. I really dislike that, especially with how things scale. Things scale a lot harder. 86 specters do not feel like 86 specters from before. They're like 50% or more stronger.
Oh, they're crazy.
So
do you think that that's like the most problematic bit? Basically, like if we change +2 gems from the ascendancy to something else, do you think Necro's okay otherwise?
I think so. I mean, well, bone, the bone node is kind of weird too, because it's a great node,
Right.
but the actual active skill is not bad. It's good, but it's bad because you've got shit like molten shell and whatnot, and that's generally what you're going to be scaling your necromancer defense with. So in that way, it kind of sucks. But like they built the entire system around the fact that the node is there, so it's not as simple as removing it or like reducing it to +1 or something like that. They'd have to genuinely remove it. But then like if they remove it, they'd have to do something with onslaught pretty much. That's like the only thing that I see, because otherwise ascendant and the guardian are just too good. But at the same time, you get to a point with summoners where you don't need any more damage, you just need speed, and that's kind of where guardian shines right now.
Yeah.
So
Speed and defense,
still
Guardian
boring.
can get very tanky. I think people constantly underestimate the power of denying all enemies charges around you. It's
That's very
actually
good.
super strong.
I mean, it's like 50% crit with like 3 charges.
Yeah,
That's
and
pretty crazy.
frenzies give triple the amount of attack and gas speed to enemies and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, that was a bit of an aside.
No,
And what's extra stupid about it is that actually maybe that's a good thing now that I think about it, is that it's active gems. So if you build a necromancer and you, for instance, get like a soul rest or something, then it's just a bad ascendancy for it, I guess. I don't really like that either. That it's just active. But in a way, I mean that
I mean,
makes
it'd
it
be broken if it could
quite a
scale
bit
in
more
power,
balanced.
but it is a bit annoying that it doesn't scale the other phantasms. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, you'd still play that. You'd still probably do necromancer. I don't know. It's just so boring. I just really hate it. For a company that comes up with such interesting solutions, it's like
It's kind of the Herald of Agony problem expanded to cover many more summoners now.
there you go.
Because the Herald of Agony problem is that like there's so much power inherent to Herald of Agony if you just solve like 3 different problems that the rest of the decisions in your build feel very unimpactful. And yeah, if there's a few very, very generically powerful decisions you can make as, say, a Necromancer, the rest of the decisions in the build feel unimpactful.
I think
I don't think it's as bad, but
and
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think they did a great job with Commander of Darkness, with Mistress of Sacrifice, and with the detonate stuff. I think they created a very cool system there. But then, yeah, the nodes where it splits into 2, like that could use some work. That's pretty much it.
So you don't like? I mean, the only thing you don't like is the +2 minion, I guess.
Yeah, but the
Or
problem
at
is that everything kind of. That's the important node, you know. Everything kind of falls apart based off of it, you know. So
it allows you to have like multiple minions all be like strong enough.
it's really weird because summoners generally were like you were strong getting into maps, kind of weak midway through,
Yeah.
and then you were strong again late game, and then you could get really strong eventually in the past. And now it's just like with this node,
Strong all the way. Yeah,
all the way through.
this never stops. That's true.
Yeah. And you feel that with a lot of builds, honestly. I always like that pacing of the game where you feel like you're entering yellow maps or you feel like you're entering reds, and then eventually you move on to shaped maps and you really start feeling like how these things go. And yeah, a lot of that is gone with this, which also dumbs down the gameplay, and you're playing a summoner, so you're basically watching TV half the time anyway, right? Yeah.
It's really it's really awkward to me as well, the Bone Barrier skill. I picked it up. I was like, okay, let's just get a bit tanky. Instead of getting Mistress of Sacrifice, I realized later on it's like completely pointless because nothing dies anyways. You're only using it for yourself. The whole point of having the Bone Barrier is like to protect your minions. That would be like the playstyle, right? So you could have like more minions. You could like build them a little tankier, more variety, and you could protect all of them. But it never really comes into play because it's like
I like that.
the bone armor skill just like it's like 2,000 shield for them when they have like 50k life anyways, and they just regen. Like okay, it's like what's the point? So I'm kind of disappointed that they're not making that node a bit more interesting. And I'm probably with you with the +2 minion node. I think the rest of the stuff actually seems pretty interesting. I'm happy that Mr. Sacrifice got a little bit of a buff, so that feels more impactful to use again as like a combo thing. So that's cool.
I think
Would
maybe they
you-
should make it like the shield. That would be cool. The Magna Eclipses, where if you don't take damage for a while, it fully charges up. Just make it like that, where you have to like exit combat, come back in. Because like the more we talk about this, the more I really like Nugi's idea of just like, it's annoying, but just making minions squishier, yeah, having to play around that. I think that's a good solution to things.
It would be cool if it was just Bone Bearer specifically, if it kind of had like a reverse elusiveness. So like you press the button and then it gains charges or like strength based on nearby corpses. So you know how elusive starts at like
Yeah,
150% and then
Yeah,
goes
yeah, yeah.
down? So this
No,
would
I
start
follow.
at 0%, and then for all the corpses it like steals their skeletons, shit, their bones, and then it goes up to like big shield or something.
It's pretty metal
More
too.
of the like the corpse synergies. I feel like they could make Necromancer more into like a corpse synergy based ascendancy.
Because they're
Rather
trying to
than,
push the
like-
whole corpse thing hard with Necro.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah. I
half
think
the
it's really
nodes,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the Guardian rework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that one will. I think Guardian's actually in a really good place now
That's
as
very,
an
very
ascendancy.
powerful.
Yeah, very all around strong. As well as that, there were nerfs to Mana Guardian in that they changed. I forget the name of the unique
Healthy
tool,
Mind.
but yeah, they changed it so you can't stack it.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about like minion summoning Mana Guardians, which they buffed minions for Guardians damage wise as well, I actually think overall they ended up as powerful.
Oh yeah.
Partially because of convoking wands with like hybrid mana rolls, allowing you to get close to 200 mana out of your wand, which is insane. I had somebody link me one of those yesterday for their Mana Guardian that was like perfectly rolled with 190 mana and minion attack speed and damage and crap. It was silly.
That's pretty crazy.
Have
Works
any
with
of
everything, I
you
mean.
played Assassin at all?
Not yet.
No, I'm planning on it.
The Orb of Storms that I played Assassin.
I want to
That's
do
cool.
I want to do Scourge or Poison Assassin.
Nice. Did you play around with Mistwalker then, Raiz? How did that feel, if you did?
Yeah, it felt good. It's a really powerful node,
Right.
but I thought it's gonna feel like the elusive is gonna feel more impactful. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how. It's like 40% movement speed. It's so huge.
Yeah.
Somehow it didn't feel as much. But it was probably because my build was so gimmicky. It's like, basically a Herald of Ice build, right? With like Orb of Storms, but it's kind of slow. It just covers a lot of the area if the mobs are tight enough. So I think it's mostly due to my build, but it's a very powerful node for sure. In general, Assassin just looks just really, really strong, and I look forward to some poison stuff as well. Absolutely, especially with that the freaking ring now that
The chill one?
Oh, that
yeah,
one. Yeah,
where
that
mobs
one's-
shatter. I tested it. It's deliberate
good.
wording. The mobs do shatter.
Yep.
Actually, if they are poisoned, it's totally deliberate wording, and it totally works with your Herald device. So
Do
you can do some fun stuff.
So I have someone I have someone in my chat who's playing Herald of Ice with Volker's cold gloves to make the Herald of Ice hits able to poison as well, so that the poisoned enemy can then shatter and continue chaining.
Mhm.
But what they've run into is the Herald of Ice explosions will one-shot monsters and then they don't explode, much the same way that Gladiator bleed explosions work, where if you one-shot something, you don't get a bleed explosion. So just fair warning to anyone looking to use the ring, if you have too high upfront hit damage, you won't actually get the shatters out of it.
Yeah, I was testing it and I run into the same problem when testing, and it was like, that's pretty shitty. I mean,
Have any of
Just
you
make a
played
weaker
with
build.
Plague Bearer at all? I've
Not
heard that
No.
so the base damage on it is incredibly high, evidently.
Yes.
But it's one of the hardest things to directly scale in the game. Apparently, even according to Mark, Reddit post from Art, even directly linked support gems won't scale its damage.
I think so.
It's just
Someone
it's
told
like
me that.
120k or something per second, right? And that's it. It's like, and then the only thing you can do is like wither things and reduce
Yeah,
their
debuffs.
resistances, debuffs. That's it. That's all you have.
Yeah. It seems as well like it doesn't even scale that hard off of levels. It's got weird level scaling. I went and looked up the numbers. Going from 20 to 21 is like an extra 8% or something damage stored, and then past that, it doesn't. It goes up by like 2% or 3% per level. There is a helmet enchant for it though. Let me refresh my memory on it.
It kind of works like a vol skill more than anything, but well, it seemed pretty effective. I didn't get to try it out too much because I didn't have too much poison in my build. I did play around with it, and you could do some cool stuff. Yeah, but the lack of scaling, I think it's intended as just like a slap this on if you're
Yeah.
playing a poison build, so your damage doesn't need as big of a ramp up on bosses.
I'm just curious as to how we feel about something like that. Like, it seems like a dangerous thing to design because if it's not going to have almost any scalars available to it and still is meant to feel impactful, like it's a damage skill, so it needs to feel impactful or else people just won't use it, that necessitates the damage number being really high baseline, sort of like, Herald of Agony is in a similar place to this. And then, if ever, because Path of Exile is a complex game, it gets more complex with every league, it limits design space. They can't put things into the game that are going to be really effective for debuffing enemies Chaos Res or something, because that's going to potentially make Plague Bearer insane, because Plague Bearer has really high, base damage. So it makes it's a thorny thing to design around potentially moving forward.
I agree with that. I don't know what the details of the bug were, but just before we started today, someone said that there's something really weird happening with Einhart Aura and Plague Bearer, and that's all he said. I don't know if it meant it was causing crashes, or it lags him, or what.
Weird.
He was just like, Einhart Aura plus Plague Bearer is really weird, and I'm like, I don't know what that means, but okay.
I have no idea why those, because Einhart Aura just gives you like life leech and regen. It's a recovery aura. I have no idea why that would ever interact with Plague Bearer.
It's like when someone comes into your stream and says, "What's that sound?" And you're like, "I don't know. You need to give me a little more to work with." He said it was performance related because lag, I guess. Maybe it was lag. I don't know.
One interesting thing that I don't know if it's worth doing. I've not played it yet, so I'm not really sure how quickly Plague Bearer charges. But apparently, you are unaffected by poisons doesn't prevent Plague Bearer from allowing poisons to still deal their damage for purposes of stacking it. So you can use the helmet that makes you unaffected by them, and then Golden Rule to poison yourself as well as enemies, and double the rate at which you charge it.
I mean, that's
but
good,
I have no
though.
idea
That's cool.
whether or not that's worthwhile. No, I'm not saying that shouldn't be in the game, that it's a cool interaction.
Okay.
I just don't know if that's worthwhile because it might just not matter, because
it seems to stack up real fast from like when in a video he stacks it to 1 million within one pack. I'm not too worried about players being able to stack it up to 1 million.
Yeah.
Well, like the thing is, I thought that you just turn it on like a Vol RF and then it just like trickles down, but you can turn it off. You can drop it to half.
Turn it off?
Yeah, you turn it off and then you can turn it back on to get it back. And then, you just don't have to degen. So between packs, you can totally micromanage it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Before I talk about Sab stuff, one other weird bug, which I made a video about like just before we started up. Have you guys used an enduring mana flask yet?
No.
So it's a new mod, and it's the flask effect doesn't end when you reach full mana. So what you can do is you can use all 5 of your charges, and it saves them. So it will go through one full duration, then the next duration, then the next duration. So
I mean, that's how mana potions used to work as well before, if you never ran out. So
what you can do is you can run a map and constantly spam it, and you have like 3 minutes of mana left at the end. You can then remove the mana flask and put a different flask in, use the new flask, and the mana is still rolling.
Hell yeah.
Okay, follow me here. What if you run a Pathfinder, you get enough increased recovery and reduced, and you just spam a mana potion until you have like 10 minutes. You put another one in before you go into a boss encounter.
Yeah.
You spam that down, and then another one, and then another one. Or you just have all 5 with different mods on them. You spam all of them down. You put on your neat flask. You go in.
One thing to keep in mind, while the Enduring Mana Flask isn't actually recovering you mana and you're at full mana, you're not getting the effects of things like staunching or poison.
Yeah,
immune
it
or
doesn't.
immune or
It
something.
doesn't roll the
What if you
suffix.
drop down again?
You lose. No. So if I spam it 5 times, once the first like current application runs off, you lose the suffix, but you're always gaining the mana. So
Okay, so it's not that broken.
Wait, even if you change zones?
if you change zones, you
No.
lose it, because if you change zones,
Yeah.
it's whatever. But like for example,
thought-
if you could go up to like a Guardian map, or is there a proper load screen for Elder Guardians? I can't remember. There is for Elder
Yeah,
himself.
There
Yeah,
is.
yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah.
It's a different zone.
Yeah, so like what I do is, because I couldn't work out how to fix the mana because I haven't got the Blood Magic Gloves in my build yet, so I've just got like 5 or 10% unreserved, and then if I'm running like a normal like Minotaur map or whatever, spam my mana pot, and then I know that I'm gonna have like a solid like 2 minutes worth of spam against the guy, which is pretty cool. I haven't been swapping flasks around. I just showed that you could do that in a video just to be like, this is how like it's probably bugged. But the thing which is kind of cool about it is if you're playing like Mind of Matter Righteous Fire, that's obviously really powerful, having that never-ending like sustain. If you're doing like Indigon stuff, because the mana then heals you, like it's really strong. I think it's probably bugged or broken that you can start swapping flasks. That seems like too good. But how do you feel about if you could just like stack the mana side and not like swap flasks? Could they keep that? I kind of like it, but it might be too good.
I don't think
I'm
it's
just
like you
thinking
have to
about
you have to
ILRF.
run like a normal mana flask, so you don't get like a unique one, right?
Yeah, because it
Yeah,
has to be rolled
normal.
for endurance.
Yeah, and
Normal.
it doesn't keep these, so it's just. I mean, I think they probably need to remove whenever you actually remove the potion from your bar, kind of deal. But it lingering mana like before, I mean, you're using like a lot of rolls on them, and you're investing fully into a mana potion. So I don't know if that's too big of a deal, honestly. It's not. You can only get so much mana out of it.
I mean, you're using a mana flask, like.
Yeah.
You need all the help you can get. You need that shit, dude.
I personally don't see, because in order to get more charges rolling than you would be able to have otherwise, because it is enduring, it'll last anyway at top, at being fully topped up, you have to be killing a ton of monsters to keep recharging it. If you're killing a ton of monsters, you would have had flask charges. So I don't see a huge practical difference unless you kill a ton of monsters really quickly and you get a bunch of charges rolling, and then for some reason there's a boss fight at the end of the map that takes like 6 minutes.
Well, like
probably won't happen.
That sounds like a mana flask build, yeah.
Yeah, generally you don't need like 3, 6, 5 minutes worth of like mana, but it is kind of cool that if there is like a boss which doesn't have ads, or like maybe something like a really tanky rolled Phoenix or something, where you can't guarantee you can instantly global it. It's if you have this set up, it's like, okay, I have infinite mana.
Does this work the same way for life flasks?
No, Life Flask doesn't have that mod.
Yeah, there's no
Well, it's
enduring
not
roll in
enduring.
Life Flask.
And
That would be broken.
It would be
because
it would
every
be broken.
form of Life Flask recovery that has slightly different wording is multiplicative. So like increased recovery with life flasks and increased effective flasks and increased recovery with flasks, and all of those are multiplicative against each other.
Yeah.
So if you had an enduring life flask and then stacked all those mods, you could hit a button and have like 6k or 7k regen just on a button, basically.
Yes.
Sounds pretty good. I like
Bring
it.
back this old school Beanos. They were talking about how they want to bring back the archetype, you know? This
That
is old
did
school
feel good.
Beanos, man. 40k regen, no problem, dude.
That also segues perfectly into me talking about Sab, because everyone used to do Beano Trappers. Sab regen feels fucking shit now at 10%. It's so bad. You notice it, but the thing is like most trappers don't have that much life unless they're going like ES based. And even then they haven't got like loads of life. The 20 to 10 feels rough. You still take it because it's a good node, because it's
Are you
like
talking about traps or mines?
it's the same.
Oh.
Both
Mine.
traps and mines have 10% regen now. It used to be 20%.
Yeah, but detonation is a lot better than trigger because it wouldn't work off of the chain detonation, right?
No, it would.
The trap one.
It would work.
It would
off,
still.
It would. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just it
Ah.
It
doesn't
was
feel
it just
good.
cared about number of traps that it triggered recently.
Okay.
I've played both mines and traps now because I did mines till like 90 or 91, then I respec'd over to traps, and it's like it feels so rough. And it's also, I don't know how I feel about the fact that both the mine 4-pointer and the trap 4-pointer both feel kind of meh. The mine 4-pointer, which has the 100% increased aura effect, is really good if you're doing pyroclast mines because that gives flat damage. So like doubling that flat damage is like insane scaling. But if you're doing icicle mines, you don't need the crit, so you don't take it. And no trappers really take chain reaction anymore. So it's just like, you take the regen node, you take the blind node, you take either the mine or trap 2-pointer, and now you take the buffed node, and that's it. And it's like...
I love pyroclast mines.
It's awful.
I love.
It's so cool and so much visual clutter.
It's the laggiest fucking like ugliest ability they've ever made. It's genuinely
Ugly.
No.
I think it's laggy.
Memes aside, I've played like Sire of Shards, Magma Orbs, and shit. Like, this is the worst visual build by far.
Sire of Shards, Mage Skeletons.
No, that's you can still see what's happening. If with Pyro,
I guess I haven't
you-
played Pyroclast
when
mines
you
yet, but
get
I've had a few
long
people stand to
chain
my hideout.
with pyromanes, like you might like it's fine if because people in chat saying it looks amazing. You might like the fact there's so much stuff going on, but you cannot see. And the
It doesn't
entire
matter though. They're fucking homing missiles, dog. They
but
auto target the mobs.
It's stupid though because because let me explain why this is stupid. So Sire of Shards isn't the intended way to play any ability. It's like you can use Sire of Shards in GMP and LMP, and it's kind of memey. The way you're meant to play Pyroclasm mines is have a massive mine chain, and you just don't see the screen.
Perfect.
That's stupid. They've designed an
No.
ability whose sole purpose is to have so many projectiles you cannot see.
Yeah, but it also does enough damage so that you don't have to.
But that's just a shit ability. People feel like, so you get a lot of people who use it, like, oh, it just does so much damage, so of course I'm going to use it. But it's just like, no.
I love it.
We bitch at GGG for like, oh, you've designed a mechanic which has terrible performance. That's just what they've designed with this. Like, it might
Dude,
be
I haven't
fun.
seen the game in 4 years, man. I don't care about that.
It might be fun to look at, and I know you're joking, but genuinely though, from a design point of view, it is the worst design skill they've ever made. Like, I am adamant on that. It is the worst design skill they have ever made.
It's not even worse than like Armageddon mines, man.
Armageddon brand is way better than Pyroclasm.
I think you have
Or
to. I think you have to
sorry.
qualify that statement a little bit because it's the worst. I'm not necessarily agreeing with you, but I think what you mean is that it's the worst designed visually.
Visually and
Because I think
mechanically.
there's really.
Yeah, because
I think there's some mechanically more lacking skills.
okay, so the reason why
mechanically,
the reason why I'm
Pyroclast
saying
mines is perfectly
visually the
serviceable.
reason why I'm saying visually and mechanically is we've played Path of Exile for long enough that you when you look at an ability you go, oh, that's abusable in this scenario. Pyroclasm mines, the whole thing is like, oh, this is really good if I can throw enough of these and can add enough projectiles and scale enough flat damage multiple scaling, they'll instantly delete anything.
Sounds good.
And that's its only purpose, just to delete things to an excessive amount. It's
Okay, what's the
very
point
laggy.
of any skill in PoE?
No.
I'm getting another
it's-
beer for this one.
Right. Okay, so this is my point, right?
At the end of the day, like we're trying to kill things fast and efficient.
Okay, so
and-
Molten Strike, to give you an example, right? The original version of Molten Strike, they had to like limit the amount of projectiles it could have because it was lagging people out because it was too many hits that all overlapping over each other. So GG is like, okay, so what causes a bunch of lag? A shit ton of projectiles and lots of small overlapping hits. What's really broken? Lots of projectiles and lots of small overlapping hits. We know this is a broken combination. Let's also combine it with a ridiculous visual effect. So now you have an ability which is visually laggy, calculation laggy, and then mechanically broken.
I only hear positives.
It's like an exploding firestorm in a bottle.
I really don't get the mechanical part.
But get it from like a performance point of view, I would agree with that. I mean, the balance point of view can be fixed if it's really that strong. I'm not. I mean, I like Molten Strike. I played it for many leagues.
Right.
Just saying.
Play Pyroclasm Mines to 100.
I mean, Tornado Shot. It's projectiles.
Jokes on you, Tarke. I haven't had a level 100 in years.
Sorry, play it to 98.
There you go.
Play Pyroclasm Mines to 98.
I don't want to. It's a visual clusterfuck.
Right. I think the skill's really cool. I would play it, but I would never play it in its current state. I would, like, when the initial trailer came out, when we all saw the rework for the mine things, what did we say? Oh, that looks like a good skill. Oh fucking hell. Raiz, your initial reaction was good luck bitrate.
Yeah, but it auto-targets the projectiles, auto-target the enemies. I don't have to see if things are dead. It's perfect.
The first thing you said, and you can go on Raiz's YouTube and watch the video that, like, Screw It edits, it's him joking about how bad it is visually. He's like, no, it's perfect, Tarke. My first reaction is this ability is fucked visually. But no, it's fine.
Yeah, it was my first reaction, and now I've learned my lesson, and I'm with it, dude.
So you're gonna play it then, yeah?
Tarke, as a person, we should encourage this.
Hell yeah, I'll play it.
Okay. Is that your next?
I'm
build,
trying
then?
to like see how bad it gets. Because I know Wins has been playing it, so I'm watching him kill Uber Elder. You know,
Yeah.
it's okay. That all right. It was not bad. Then it got kind of bad for a second. But the boss is dead, so it doesn't matter, man.
I actually thought
fine.
Blast Mines was going to be more of a problem just from watching the videos.
Right?
But yeah, I guess I didn't take into account the projectile scaling behavior with Pyroclasm.
It's because it just like flashes you. Stormblast Mine does.
Yeah.
Once you get enough AoE, it just flashbangs you.
So, okay, for anyone who doesn't know the way it works, it's like for every additional mines and sequence, it gains damage, right? So it's one of those things of, especially since Winds uses Tremor Rod. So you place 23 mines, it detonates, and then it rearms those 23. So that's then like 46, and then you can throw additional on top. He dodges because he's bossing, but if you just like keep throwing during the chain, so that's why it ramps up so ridiculously with extra projectiles and like extra damage. And so it's like, just from a set like max stack, that's 23, 46, you're getting at least like 50, 55-ish detonations. And then you're adding additional proj on that. It's like insane. Imagine if Tornado Shot fired more projectiles the longer you fired Tornado Shot.
There's a lot happening on the screen, but I can still see the mobs. I can still see the bosses. I can see the ads. It's a lot happening, but it's a lot happening like with Ice Nova, you know? It's a big explosion, but you can still see things clearly. It doesn't have the same effect as a lot of other skills do when they just cover up the mobs. Kind of like Armageddon Brand does. If Armageddon Brand hits something and then it does the little thing, the little swirl up to the air, you do not see the mob. With this, you still see shit.
I played Armageddon Brand, and it was bad. I would play Armageddon Brand over this any day.
Unfortunate.
I don't know if I would. I'm like looking. It's like Armageddon Brand was literally the worst. I hated it.
I mean, Armageddon Brand was bad, but like the thing is, Raiz, is you can't see bearers even without stuff on the screen. So with stuff on the screen, you know.
Dude, I saw that Kondo's Pride. What are you talking about?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult. There's a big old two-handed sword, covers a lot of the screen.
Listen, I got fucking baited, okay? It was an FBI job, dude. Servers were closing. That was my last map. I was super tired. I was gonna go to bed. I couldn't see shit. Oh, Vince just died. Okay? It was bullshit. It was bullshit.
To drop the Pyroclasm thing, but go back to the whole like mines and traps discussion thing, the new mines feel great. They just feel like better traps though. And then you play traps if you don't want to detonate. That's
just
really
traps
it.
with extra steps.
It's traps with extra steps, but they do more. It's okay. So again, I'm in SSF. I'm on like a 5-link Searing Touch and a 5-link chest, so my gear isn't like silly optimal or whatever. Traps feel burstier than mines if you're not doing pyro. Like if you're doing icicle mines or like other shit. The map clear is substantially better on mines because you have access to like icicle mine. Icicle mine is like insane. It's tornado shot on crack. It's tornado shot with 0 gear requirements. It's really good. The Sab rework though feels really disappointing. Like really, really disappointing because it's like the opposite of the Necro problem, where it's like they didn't want Sab to be the only choice. So you've got just 2 quality of life things and then some defensive things, and you'll always take the defensive things, and you always take the mine or the trap 2-pointer based on if you're playing mines or traps.
I think part of the problem with applying the like design philosophy of Necromancer and minions to Saboteur and traps is that traps are way more of a niche thing than summoning is. So it's very like thematically appropriate to design multiple ascendancies that can be good summoners. Like Guardian can be the like aura bot oriented summoner that maybe is like a support and maybe is a summoner, somewhere in between there flavor wise. Necromancer can be the dedicated summoner ascendancy. And then there's room for other ascendancies to maybe splash into a bit with like Champion having some buffs for their allies and stuff as well. But how do you make something a buff that's really impactful for traps as a playstyle, but put it somewhere that isn't Saboteur and make that make sense? Like what other ascendancy, flavor-wise, has any sort of logical reason to do to have something to do with traps? Obviously you can get trap damage out of like being an Inquisitor and scaling LE damage with traps. But if we're talking trap-specific utility,
the only one that works is Deadeye, because animation speed affects trap and mine throwing speed. That's not a niche thing. That's the only one.
Isn't the point of it for it to be everything though? I mean, Saboteur was the trap ascendancy for such a long time, and everybody who played traps would play Elementalist or Inquisitor. It just wasn't a thing. Is it the point of it to be like the everything ascendancy? So I don't know how much I like that idea. I wouldn't really limit it.
I think the main issue with it is the trap 4-pointer doesn't feel very good for traps, and it only is good for trap builds. And the mine 4-pointer is only good for like some mine builds.
Okay, hear me out. What if I like mines a lot. The way they changed the mechanic now, I like them a lot. I think the extra trigger is especially cool because you can trigger it multiple times. You can place many mines, boot up one sequence, and the more you press the detonate button, the more mines are actually going to sequence into that, which is a really, really cool design. So what I think they should do is they should take traps. No, it is.
You only press
it doesn't work into
once.
the sequence. But you can do it multiple times. What do you mean?
No, okay. So you throw 23 mines. You press detonate once, and then all of those detonate, and you keep throwing more mines, and it adds into that initial chain until the first chain stops. Then you press detonate a second time.
Yeah, but you can keep pressing detonate
if you spam detonate. I mean, you can spam detonate, but it doesn't do anything.
What do you mean it doesn't do anything? It detonates the mines that are already placed.
But that chain is already running.
Yeah, but you can blow them up faster.
Okay, sure. Sure, yeah.
Okay, so what? I was gonna do a whole thing, Tarke.
Sorry. Continue. Sorry.
What's the point we're
how you now need to change traps into something that you place on the ground and it shoots outwards, aka old mines. But now you killed it.
Oh.
I do feel
like they need to rework traps now, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. They do need to rework it. Mines are super active, super interesting, super fun. Traps are just a shittier version altogether of that.
It's not so much that, it's mostly, you notice it mostly with the throwing speed. The trap throwing speed feels so much slower than mine throwing speed, because it just is so much slower than throwing speed. Yeah. And that's coming from someone who basically only played Lightning Trap last league, really enjoyed it, and then has been spending most of my time this league also playing traps. It just...
And a big difference I'd imagine is also that mines with a rework got the ability to be detonated anywhere. You can detonate them midair if you want to. Traps, even if you scale as much throwing speed as you can possibly scale in the game, still have the time where they're in the air and the time where they land and the time where they arm.
Arming. Yeah.
Do you think they would just remove them altogether?
Traps? No.
Like considering how much they did with mines, right? Where they did remove the playstyle and they made it into something so similar. I mean, obviously they knew that that's going to be the case. I wonder if just one day they're going to be like, oh, people don't play traps. Let's just remove them.
You know, it'd be funny if they leaned into the super powerful limited cooldown traps, and now years later, after incursion and a couple of patches, we find ourselves back in the initial form of traps, where they're very powerful and they have a long cooldown, and they make more of those, and that's kind of the identity they go with, and we just go full circle.
I think that would be a really good change to make to the trap 4-pointer if they made the trap 4-pointer all about the cooldown traps. That would be good.
So something like in Grim Dawn where you've got certain abilities, and if you spec into certain things in your skill tree, it gives them a cooldown.
No, so
You can
what I
possibly
mean by that
reward
is
them.
like we
No.
already have how like Pathfinder's 4-pointer is like mostly focused around Herald of Agony than some other chaosy stuff. The trap 4-pointer should be like massive cooldown reduction for the 8-second traps, or maybe they gain another charge or something like that. So it's not like every trapper has to play Sab, but if you want to do the big 8-second cooldown build, or you want to focus on like Flamethrower Trap or Lightning Spire Trap, you've gained like an extra 2 charges. That'd be really easy to just add like an extra charge or an extra 2 charges, and it wouldn't be broken.
Yeah, but how would it make it feel different from mines, though? That's the thing. If you're gonna do a rework, then
I think the cooldown traps inherently feel different enough from mines. They have a cooldown you have to keep track of, and they are unique individual abilities. Maybe it's not as much of a difference as I'd like. A big sweeping rework to traps could possibly be good. I'm still in the camp that I wish they had just made, like as you suggested a couple Baeclasts ago, I wish they just made this new skill grenades and had kept old mines. I still like old mines, to be entirely honest with you.
The thing which, I agree with that, the thing which made traps unique originally was the fact they had charges, and then they removed charges, and they just made them throwing, and they only had charges on the 8-second thing. I would lean harder into the charges on the big cooldowns, and then I would like half the arming speed universally, and I would like half the throwing animation.
yeah, but like the problem with that is that that's traps used to kind of work like that, right? Where if you were to put a lot of them on your gear, you kind of mitigated the whole having a cooldown scenario, but there were advantages to it. You could get over reflect, which was really difficult. You could get a lot of damage, which is really difficult to obtain. You could generally get a lot more clear speed because of the functionality of it. Now you can't really give that sort of advantage to a trap anymore ever, because you'd have to do something that would the cap of the traps would be the fact that you're running out of them. So you'd have to make it up somewhere else, either by speed or I don't know, AoE. But like, would they really do something like that? And can you really balance that around other things where it's like, oh, you're gonna feel, oh, okay, I've reached a cooldown. I have to wait for a second now because I've thrown too many of these. I'm clearing too fast. It feels so good versus just I could be doing this, but instead playing Tornado Shot and not have the cooldown and accomplish the same clear speed. Like, I just don't feel like those things make sense in PoE anymore.
So just to clarify, since some people got confused, I always said also reducing the throwing time is a buff because you throw them faster. It's buffing the cast speed. Reducing the arming time is a buff because currently you throw the trap, it flies through the air, it hits the floor, it waits like a second, and then it can then trigger. So I'm saying if they reduce the animations, it would be boom. Keep like fire trap, ice trap, lightning trap, no cooldown. They're whatever. Make the 8-second traps more interesting and put way more flavor into the 8-second traps. So the fire trap is your linky dink like map clear ability, and then the fire trap is like I'm killing the boss ability, which is how trappers sort of play now. But just make the charged abilities way more interesting. The ones with charges, the ones with things, and then shove like Flamethrower Trap has an extra 2 charges on the Trap 4-pointer. So then you have like 3 flamethrowers and then 5 flamethrowers. Sick. Because a lot of casters use the...
It's a good fix to Sabotuer, but I don't think it's a good fix for traps overall.
Yeah, like it's not ideal, but it's just the fact that a lot of casters are still using like the big cooldown traps.
For sure.
And it's like their big cooldown traps are as powerful, effectively, as someone who's fully invested into them. Like, if someone's got like 300% increased minion damage or 300% increased lightning damage, their 8-second trap is as powerful as someone with 300% increased trap damage who's, I am a trapper and I'm only focused on traps. And that feels shit to me.
Well, a lot of times the damage is also going to be the same. That's the thing, right? Because you're still scaling like minion damage for something
Right,
with
yeah, that's
spiritual
the-
aid, and it's the same thing. I mean, my Orb of Storms Assassin single target was Lightning Spire Trap, so I get that for sure. I don't know. We're gonna have to see what they come up with.
I don't think they're going to do anything. I think traps will just sit there for like 5 leagues, and then eventually they'll be like, oh, we'll focus on this again. And,
Really?
yeah.
Ooh. That's optimistic.
Oh, sorry, 10 leagues. I think it'll sit for, I don't know. I think they'll just like be left alone, and they'll be like, oh, it's kind of niche. Not that many people play it. And because it felt like the only reason the mind change happened was because Jonathan didn't like mines. That was kind of the vibe I got. Was like, it didn't feel like they wanted to focus on mines because it was like really underutilized. It felt more like they wanted to focus on it because some people on the team didn't like mines. Just from the discussion we had with them about like how they selected them, it felt like it was mostly motivated by not many people play it, and to some of us it's clunky.
Yeah, I don't know. You know my position on it. I don't think the mine rework was necessary. I like Icicle Mine. I like Pyroclast Mine, even if it's a visual mess. I'm glad they're in the game, but I'm sad as to what we lost to get them. Yeah, similar feeling to how Bestiary works now. Like, Bestiary now is fine, but I miss some of the stuff we lost to get it.
Classic PoE. Coming up.
Whoever was that nameless dev that Jonathan mentioned, who was like fighting for old mines, that's my dude right there. Whoever he was, the nameless dev. But anyway, so we move on because people are like, oh, he's talking about traps again. Do you guys want to touch on salvage boxes at all? Because that's another thing people wanted me to talk about.
I'm impressed at the speed of turnaround from GTG.
I went to bed, woke up, and the whole thing left me. It was like a real roller coaster for me of emotions.
I'm sad it even saw the light of day, I gotta say.
Especially given that it could give you a duplicate again. I don't know. It took me by surprise, man. It really did.
That's not good. Just gonna say that was not good.
It was on purpose. I'm telling you guys. People think I have a tinfoil hat. I don't. It was on purpose. Okay. For sure.
Which part? Because they didn't accidentally
whole
add
thing.
a new MTX to their game, yes. But
The whole thing was just. They did it on purpose. They knew they were going to remove it. There's no way.
Didn't.
There's no way nobody in the office just went, this is a really bad idea. And people thought,
they
you know
didn't
what? Maybe,
think
No
players
way.
were going to hate it as much as they did.
There's no way. How could you?
I can say that because I spoke to them about it, and they were like, we're not sure what to do with it yet.
That's even more of a cover up. Why would they tell you the truth?
I missed the announcement. I was like an hour late to the announcement. I got someone spamming me on Twitter about it saying, yo, what do you think about this? And I'm like, this seems really fucking weird. I don't get this. And I was like, hey, you don't need to reply, but I'm just curious, like, what was the thought process on this? And they were like, we don't really want to talk to you about it because we don't want it, like, we want to make our own decision. We don't want to, like, be impacted by blah, blah, blah. But we didn't expect, like, this much negativity over it. Like, they didn't purposely go, oh, we'll put this in to then remove it. They thought it was a good idea. They shipped it and then went, oh, fuck, people really don't like this.
Yeah, we don't want to talk to you about this, Tarke. Please don't tell this to others. But by the way, we're gonna tell you everything. It's fucking scripted.
They didn't tell me
100%.
anything. They told me nothing. All I
they
know
told
is
you
they thought
everything
it was
you
a good
needed to
idea.
know. Everything you needed to know to tell the public. You know?
Well, that they thought it was a good idea. What? No.
Yeah, because it's a cover up.
This is what I think happened. I have no like insider information. This is what I think happened. I think they wanted to make a legacy loot box. And the whole point is they wanted to sell more loot boxes, so we want to make a loot box which gives previous loot box stuff. Then I'm guessing someone then said, okay, well, people are pissed about the duplicate thing. What if we then added the duplicate shit on top? That, to me, kind of makes sense. Like, someone...
How much are they paying you?
Fuck off.
We'll pay you more, Tarke.
That's the only thing which kind of makes sense, is, like, they had the idea for a legacy loot box, then they were like, oh, people are pissed about the duplicate thing, and then it was, like, a really misguided, short-sighted decision. They then released it, because, like, my first reaction, I'm assuming the same as your guys, when you saw the announcement of a salvage box was, oh, cool, it's something to do with my duplicates. But if you ignore the duplicate side of things, it was a loot box which gave you access to previous loot boxes. That's what it was at its core. It just had a duplicate. Fuck you, Raiz.
No, I'm. The more you say it out loud, the more it's just like I cannot fathom how somebody said that out loud and other people didn't just go, "Wait, what?"
I don't know how it got through. I don't know how it got through, but I respect them. It didn't. I think it lasted like 3 hours or something. I really respect them for being like, okay, we fucked up. We're just gonna remove it. I think I really respect them for that. But I don't know how it got shipped. I really don't know how it got shipped. Because you would think that someone on the team would have been like, hey, I think this is a bad idea.
I mean, maybe there were people who were like that, you know? They were just waiting for community perception.
Maybe.
I mean, they must have realized that this is a shitty idea, or that it's at least going to be controversial, and they just decided to go with it. Like somebody was standing by the plug to pull it out at any point the second they shipped that shit. Like, they must have been just ready to go.
If that was their position, I mean, that's even more concerning. They're like, okay, how much shit can we put in this that they will accept, to the point where it's like I mean, that's really shitty, right? They're taking advantage of the players' goodwill to see how much will they take. I mean, if that's the case, that's even worse. If they're that devious. I'm just that's
taking
where I'm
advantage.
like,
I don't know. Taking advantage of the players' goodwill is going a little bit far, you know.
Okay.
Free to play memes and all this sort of stuff, but like,
I don't know, man. There's
far.
a lot of people who really like GGD and supported them over the years. I don't know.
Supporter packs, true.
It's what they're built on.
I think, I don't know, I would like to think it was one of those things where they just, for whatever reason, just didn't think like, hey, should we maybe try and think about this from a consumer point of view? It seems like one of those things where it's kind of like, someone on the team's like, yo, I really like my pasta spicy as fuck, and I'm gonna make a pasta which like straight up kills you if you eat it. And then like, why do our consumers not enjoy this spicy as fuck toxic waste pasta? Oh shit, it's like really fucking toxic, dude. I don't know, it's just like, it feels like someone just needs to like, by the way, maybe put less spice in your pasta.
To be fair though, that would have been fine. The problem is they also wanted you to pay for the pasta as well.
Yeah.
So that was the nail in the coffin. Because that's what I thought. I was like, I saw it, I'm like, oh, this is pretty, because I saw it and I was like, oh, nice. I'm finally going to be able to get rid of all my MTXs. That's really cool. What a nice system. And then I saw that it got removed. I'm like, fucking Reddit, fuck my shit up, dude. I want to get rid of my MTXs. And then I saw that it costs money. I'm like, wait.
For anyone who missed it completely, because we probably should have established this from the get-go.
Yeah.
So the way that the salvage box worked was, it was a paid one-time use box that was 30 points, so the same price as a normal loot box. It gave all the rewards of previous loot boxes, not the current one. The outcome was a guaranteed common. You could only get commons, but if you used duplicate MTX in it, you had like a much higher chance of getting the rarer outcomes. So if you look at it purely from a value point of view, in terms of points, ignoring what you already have, it was good value. The problem with it is, you have to spend points to throw duplicates to get a chance to get more duplicates, and it's only really worth it for players who have a lot of duplicates from previous loot boxes, who are the kind of players who would already have everything from the previous loot boxes, and it can only give you things from loot boxes that are already for sale in the store, so you could just then buy the piece individually that you need from the store. So, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't really even worth it for the people who already were invested in it, because they would just end up getting the duplicates.
Yeah.
So it's like a lose-lose all the way around.
It
seemed.
It was.
I mean, I see the idea that it's like they give us like an option to like give us a higher chance to get a valuable item, and if you're like, because it's the same with the loot boxes we have right now, where it's like there comes a threshold to where if you find all the good things early on, you don't really want to. You need to like weigh the odds, and there's the same odds weighing system within the salvage box, and like if you can find your way exactly in there, you can, there is a good opportunity. But for the people who are like heavily invested in all these, who've been like over the years like have tons of MTXs already, and they have like most of the things they want, it's just going to cost them more money and not actually get them the MTXs they want out of it. So it's like they're never going to hit what it is they actually want, which is the problem.
For the people in chat saying don't explain this in the Einstein way, I explained it as simply as I could, because that's generally how convoluted the mechanic is. It was the only way that I would see salvage being a good thing for the consumer would be if you're someone new to Path of Exile with 0 MTX, because then you could just buy them at 30 a pop and get a guaranteed common item. And that is guaranteed to be worth more than 30 points. So if you have a no MTX, it's good. But you can only get common items, meaning you'll never get like the chest piece, you'll never get the wings, you'll never get the weapon effects. You'll get like the boots, you'll get the gloves, you might get the pets, but not really the stuff that people want. And then if you bought enough of them, you would then duplicate your gloves, your boots, your pets. You could then throw them all together and then have a chance to get the boots again, or the wings you already own, or the this and the that. And
it's so many of them.
Buy it directly.
Yes.
It's also
just let me buy the thing directly for the money at a given price from the store. Honestly,
it also has the issue that it's a case of the duplicates that you're grinding in the box, you paid money for it. So it's like you're paying money to have the chance to turn your items that cost you money into something else, and you can get that same item back. Like, you could buy a salvage box, put 7 wings in there, and you could get those same wings back. And you would have paid 30 points to do that.
I'm glad it's gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm glad it didn't live for more than 3 hours.
Yeah.
As far as why it got implemented, I honestly can't divine it. I don't want to attribute it to like malice, though.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think they did it maliciously.
There's something called Hanlon's Razor, which is never a tribute to malice, something which is adequately explained by incompetence. And maybe incompetence is a harsh word, but honestly, maybe in this case, it even isn't. Like, this was just a silly decision, something that was going to be rejected by the community every time, especially considering the ARPG market as a whole and Path of Exile's specifically's history with microtransactions. Like, Path of Exile has always been extremely light and hands-off on some of the more manipulative market practices in that regard. And ARPGs in general are a marketplace where players are really wary of that shit. So yeah, I don't think it was ever going to stand a snowflake's chance in hell.
Not only was it a bad decision, it was a bad decision at the worst time possible. And I like how, in me talking about this for so long, talking about how shit of an idea it is, someone's calling me a shill for GGG. Because you realize I'm saying GGG was incompetent to make this decision. But they decided to release this loot box days after they released the Carnival loot box that most people hated. Also...
Oh, really?
Yeah, most people hate the Carnival loot box. So they released the loot box, which was going to be questionable at best, right after they just released a bad one. also during a time where loot boxes are under extreme scrutiny in games journalism, also at a point where people are frustrated with the league being buggy and broken, and also considering the main thing that GGG is praised for, outside of being an amazing developer, which they are, is being so fair with their MTX model. Like, whenever there's a discussion about MTX, like Jim Sterling makes a video, the people they talk about, Warframe, GGG, Path of Exile, these are like, this is how you do it right. So that's the one thing you don't want to fuck up. Because people like universally praise you for how good you are at it. So you don't want to fuck with that.
Yeah, but like the thing is, you guys know that this was the last thing they're gonna do for duplicates, right? Like, this was it. There's not gonna be anything else. People are like, oh, just make it so that you can get points out of it. Yeah, a company is just going to go, you know what? We don't need these millions of dollars that people have just sitting there. We're just gonna give you guys your points. It's like, I think in their heads, this was like the most they could have done for the community, to be completely fair, and the community didn't like it, and this is where we are.
I would rather nothing than the salvage box.
Yes.
I think the salvage box in its initial implementation was poor. It was predatory.
Whoa!
I would not purposefully necessarily, but I would rather nothing than that.
No,
I
I
mean,
didn't.
duplicates
loot
go.
boxes
I
are
agree.
I'll just
predatory.
have my 3 clown masks. It's fine.
Yeah, but you guys are a bunch of clown haters. I love them, dude.
Do I like the
I'm not
clowns?
hating on them. They're
Bunch
weird.
of clown haters, racist.
They're weird,
Clowns are people
but
too.
they're well done. I have the little clown pets, and they have some neat
Yeah.
animations.
Are you
Pets
a
are
juggalo
great.
for life, Raiz? ICP?
There was a short period of time in my life where I was like, I might just be a clown, and then I started streaming, so I ended up one anyway.
Hey.
Hey.
We exist only for you.
Did you catch the ICP thing there? Do you know what that is?
The what?
Insane Clown Posse?
Yeah. I mean, I caught
I
it.
didn't.
Yeah. Google it.
Don't-
Someone in chat got it. Like, Octavian got it. Some people in chat got it. That's fine. Just wanna, but,
That was a fun thing.
anything else you'd like to talk about in terms of week 1 of Blight League, or do we finish on that?
You guys want to talk about how the developers are never going to come on this podcast ever again?
Oh, that would be a
No.
shame. I really like the
I
devs,
don't
and I
think
hope
so.
they still like me. That would be.
Monetization. There's a reason GGG is so incredibly cautious with it. We've talked with them about it before when we've had them on Dev Baeclasts, and talked about even things as seemingly straightforward as having a like merch shop, which I still think they really should do. They
Yeah,
are
should.
glacially slow to move on because they are so reliant on the goodwill of their fan base. They don't make money otherwise. So that's why it surprises me so much that this came out with like next to no fanfare and just.
Let's not go that far. The goodwill of the player base. Come on.
You don't have to pay money to play Path of Exile.
Yeah, but nobody's like, no, I'm not anymore. Maybe way back, but like nobody's like, oh man, I have my last $5 and I'm just gonna give them to GGG. They just fucking want. They just
Goodwill-
fucking want to look cool
GGG
in a
still
video
does
game. So they buy
incredibly well based on goodwill. Like, GGG's
Goodwill-
reputation is one of the best things about GGG. This is the thing.
No.
Most people hate the companies that make the games they play.
Yep.
People are like, Rockstar make great games, but fuck Rockstar. They treat their employees like shit. Fuck Blizzard. We hate Blizzard. Fuck Gearbox. Fuck Randy Pitchford. Fuck all these people. People who want to play Classic WoW hate Blizzard. People who want to play Borderlands hate Gearbox. People who want to play PoE, most of them like PoE. PoE are nice guys. They're cool people. They're fun to chat with. They're fun to hang out with. They come on podcasts like this. They're like really nice company. So for them to do something which could fuck with that is dangerous. I agree with Octavian.
It's definitely a factor, but again, I wouldn't give people as much credit as to like whenever I'm buying MTXs, I would much rather give money to GGG. But it's not like people who buy MTXs just want to look fucking cool in the video game where nobody gives a fuck how they look. It's not like some sort of charity.
I think they would see a much more severe downturn in profits if they were to like nuke their goodwill than a
Oh,
lot of
sure.
other companies.
I mean,
Like they're
and a
way
lot of-
more reliant on it than most of the rest of the
Reliant?
industry.
I mean, I don't know. Those people still spend money. We hate Blizzard, but we're still gonna stay
Yeah, but you
sub and
have to pay
whatnot,
money
so-
to play WoW. You have to pay money. Okay, let's be real. You have to pay money to play Hearthstone. You have to pay money.
You don't have to pay
buy
money to play
Diablo 3.
PoE.
It's becoming less and less true now with how many things you collect. Some stash tabs, but less so than other
There's a
games.
certain famous racer for stash tabs. Don't know if you've heard of him. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he hasn't had 4 stash tabs in 2 years.
Yeah, I know
but-
people can buy them for him, but like you can get like pretty
No, he
far with
bought them. He fucking bought them.
Fair. But like I would.
What
I
about
would say
those
to
no
you,
stash
you wanna spend
private leagues, Rise?
you
What
wanna
about
spend-
those ones, Rise?
Yeah, Rise. Fuck you, bitch. No, I feel like most
It's
people.
like playing with no stash tabs in PoE is like a trial period in any other
No,
game. It's like a fucking
yeah.
demo,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it is.
That's all there
Most
is to it.
people
Yeah.
should. I would say to anyone who wants to play PvE, realistically, you should spend at least $40 on like map tab, currency tab, and a couple of quads. Like that is just a thing. If you play PvE, you basically have to spend $40. It's basically what
I
it is.
usually recommend half that much.
Well,
someone
I'm
who, like,
clearly
really
not
wants
as
to get
good as
into the
accountant
game.
as you are, Octavian.
Tarke really likes the clown suits, okay? Like you gotta buy those too, man.
No,
Come
because
on.
the thing is with me, like when you buy the Tarke package, you have to get the currency tab, you have to get the map tab, and then you have to buy like 8 celestial cats, and celestial cats are orange. So you know.
And like the one guy in chat is constantly suggesting, yes, Tarke absolutely gets a cut of the celestial cat.
Oh yeah,
For sure.
no, yeah, that's why I'm still living
We all
with my
get
mum.
paid by
Yeah.
GGG nonstop, man.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I could afford my own house, but I just really enjoy living with my parents at the age of 26. It just makes me feel special as a person. And it's just one of those things. It's great. It's great.
Same, dude. Same.
Speaking of, I am actually saving to move in March. So if you'd like to give me money, GGG, that would also suit me. That'd be fine. That would be fine.
Good luck with that. Good luck with GGG giving you money. They can give you a bunch of salvage boxes if you want, you know? It's far more likely, dude. Legacy, bro.
Yeah.
They're worth so much.
Oh god, can you imagine if someone's gonna like try and sell a PoE account with unopened salvage boxes on them because they're legacy?
Does that really happen? Like, do people sell MTXs? Is that really taken into account? Because I hear about that all the time where people are like, oh, my account has this many MTXs that nobody buys anymore. Do people really...
Some
Maybe I
people
shouldn't,
take
but-
that shit seriously. Like, for unique skins and stuff in certain games. Like,
Yeah.
people care about that shit.
Yeah, but it's RMT alert. Maybe, yeah. It's not a good topic.
I mean,
We
obviously don't fucking RMT, but people definitely do that stuff. It's like back in WoW with like the Celestial Tigers and like people buying arena titles. It didn't do anything. People would buy an account with an arena title because they wanted the arena title. So I could see that. Like someone had maybe, what is it, the red and blue Seraph like armor sets. I could see someone caring enough to maybe buy that just because it's exclusive.
Oh, you can't buy those?
No, it's the red and blue Seraph and the Rigwald set, I think, are the only sets from past leagues.
Pog. I
Is
have
there
all of
another one?
those.
I don't think there's
Nice.
another one. It's been such a long time.
I think it was a 2-week race or something. This is the one where I played
And
Softcore.
gold, apparently. Yeah, gold and Seraph. Yeah.
Huh.
So yeah, if you have also the Zeri helmet. So if you ever want to really flex on people, then you wear like one of the OG League armor sets with the Zeri helmet if you have it, which like Waggle and Havoc or something. Yeah. But yeah.
Akira has one.
Oh.
God damn, Akira.
You can guess how he got it, but whatever.
Yeah.
And on that, I would like to thank everyone for coming to episode 47 of Baeclast. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking about Classic WoW more in 2 weeks' time.
Fantastic.
Forward to it.
I would invite Ziggy back onto Baeclast, but he's quit PoE to play Borderlands forever now. So
He does have a command in his chat where if you type !game, it returns Ziggy is a full-time streamer of insert game here. Anyone who asks, he just tells them to use that command.